Item number YOS000. Object class Euclid. Containment procedures. Object is to be kept in a 4-meter cubed room at all times. If YOS000 attempts to stab a subject, it must be stunned with an electrical device. Personnel are to remain outside the chamber without attempting to enter the cell. No one is to come into contact with YOS000 under any circumstances. If subject is successful at escaping its cell, it must be quickly subdued with electrical devices. If not successful, the site must be in full lockdown and MTF Unit 18 must use electric weapons to stun YOS000 completely. If successful, must be sent back to containment. Description: YOS000 is an unidentified entity taking the form of a thickened black bullet used for weaponry. It shows signs of sentience and is proven to be extremely hostile. Any victim it encounters will immediately attack them with a knife, and will stab the victim repeatedly until death. YOS000 is very sensitive towards electrical devices, and will be stunned with tasers, wires, etc. If hit with these devices, it will become completely paralyzed and won't move for another 5 hours. Item number YOS002. Object class Keter. Containment procedures. YOS002 is to be kept in a 20-meter humanoid containment chamber. No means of the cell being less than 20 meters is required. Subject must be fed twice per week and must be in a dormant state at all times. No one is permitted to enter the subject's containment chamber under any circumstances. If YOS002 attempts to escape its chamber, it must be stunned with Stunner 0026,000 to put it in its dormant state. Interviews must not be started unless approved. Description: YOS002 is an enormous humanoid entity standing about 13 meters tall. It wears a green shirt and wears dark jeans with suspenders, along with brown leather shoes, and white gloves. Subject possesses brown hair with a different style, and wears a green cap. It shows hollow eyes and a mustache with Italian descent. YOS002 shows very good intelligence and possesses various powers. Examples: super strength, superhuman jumping, etc. Subject is hostile and will impale any victim it comes into contact with if disturbed. It is mostly dormant if he's alone, but will mostly get disturbed if any life form occurs near him. YOS002 is also capable of speech, often speaking with YOS810 or YOS7448 or both. It will often refuse to speak if disturbed or simply doesn't want to. Addendum 002 1. YOS002 was discovered walking over a large field apparently non-hostile, and Foundation staff go over to try to contain it. YOS002 immediately became hostile and terminated most of the MTF Unit 19 members. It was subdued shortly after, and was brought to Site 13 for examination. Interview log YOS002. Interviewer: Dr. Maynard. Interviewed: YOS002. Begin log.
Good morning, YOS002. How are you doing today?
Who are you supposed to be, mortal?
Dr. Maynard, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing decent, but I don't know why I'm here though, even though you psychopaths captured me and sent me to this disgrace of a place.
We sent you here so we can have a talk with you.
I don't think a talk would make me trust you.
Listen, you seem to be way too big to be a simple human being. Did you have an uncontrollable growth or something?
No, I was made this way.
That is an unusual size for a life form. In fact, dinosaurs are very large creatures compared to humans, except for you.
Well, are we done talking about this event?
No, I still have a lot of things to discuss.
Are you serious right now?
What's the matter, YOS002?
I just wanted to have peace. Well, guess what?
What is it?
You'll have peace.
YOS002 then proceeds to smash Dr. Maynard to the ground and immediately decapitates him. End log. Closing statement. YOS002 was sent back to its chamber and the remains of Dr. Maynard was incinerated. Interviews have been cancelled at this time. Addendum 002, 2. YOS 002 was seen apparently immobilized, and was not showing signs of movement. Researchers think the subject got terminated by someone or something else, but YOS 002 is attempting to escape while not in motion. It will cause Crack to descend into another realm. This was quickly stopped by MTF Unit 6. Item number YOS 003. Object Class Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 003 is to be kept in a modified 5-meter cubed cell. At any time subject is to breach containment, must be stunned immediately, it must be within an indestructible bulletproof glass cube, no one is to encounter YOS 003 by any means necessary. If the subject is successful at escaping its chamber, it must be found and stunned as soon as possible. If unsuccessful, the site must be in full lockdown until MTF Unit 16 stunned the subject. Description: YOS 003 is a red-skinned reptilian-like entity of unknown species. It seems to wear a red shell and a red pair of shoes. Subject is extremely hostile. If it gains direct contact with an organism, will start running and attacking the victim until death. Subject seems to have a swollen left hand. The reason why it got this is unknown. YOS 003 only becomes hostile during the day, but it will be dormant for the rest of the night. Addendum 003, 1. YOS 003 was discovered when Agent Derick was driving to site. When it walked over the street and Derick quickly stopped the car, but he hit YOS 003 soon after. It only shown minor damage, but is still stunned. It was retrieved to the site and was given a cell assumed to be anomalous. Item number YOS 04. Object Class Euclid. Containment Procedures. Object is to be kept in a closed container with a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius. No one is to let YOS 04 out of its container, doing so will result in a termination. The container must be cleaned twice a week if approved by MTF staff. Under no circumstances is YOS 04 being tested unless with explicit permission. If the temperatures are above 4 degrees Celsius, it must be drained down to a stable temperature. If a subject devours the cereal, the cell must be in lockdown. Description: YOS 04 is a bowl filled with a cereal that resembles Reese's Puffs. It is a cereal with circular peanut butter flavoring. They seem to have a minor effect when eaten. If a subject consumes it, they will experience psychological damage. The subject might feel their body burning from the inside, in which acid must have formed inside. Their body temperature will increase, they will cough out liters of acid, and will have lungs closed tight in which subjects are unable to breathe. Subjects will mostly die from the experience, and will eventually disintegrate completely. The reason for these effects is currently unknown. YOS 04's effect can be paused by suddenly low levels of temperature. If below 4 degrees Celsius, it will freeze the effects easily and won't affect the subject when in this state. Despite the expiration date present on the bowl, it won't experience expiration and won't decompose. YOS 04 has also been shown to disrupt people's minds, and often leads them to commit suicide on several occasions. Addendum 004, 1. YOS 04 was discovered in an abandoned store in Michigan on May 17, 1997. Agent was inside the store when suddenly he sees a bowl of Reese's Puffs and its box is open. He took it back to Site 07 to test it out to make sure it's not expired. When brought to the researchers, they decided to eat the cereal as if nothing's going to happen and they were just hungry. But one of the researchers experienced the anomalous effects of the cereal and became dead. The cereal was sent to a cell to keep it away from anyone else. Addendum 004, 2. Testing log YOS 04. Subject: D7081. Begin log. D7081 was sent inside the cell.
All right, D7081, please open the fridge.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
He approaches.
Do I open this?
Yes, please proceed.
D7081 opens the fridge and takes out YOS 04.
Now please eat this delicious cereal for breakfast.
That's it? I mean, I am feeling a little hungry, so I might as well.
D7081 eats the cereal. After a long silence, D7081 felt slight pain in his chest. He was complaining about seeing some type of decomposing acid inside his stomach. The pain becomes so unbearable that D7081 had to commit suicide in order to not feel that same type of pain ever again. End log. Item number YOS005. Object class safe. Containment procedures. YOS005 is to be stored within a 9-meter steel locker. Any signs of it being used must be tested for DNA. No one is to make physical contact with YOS005 at any time. If used by a subject, personnel must be within a 10-meter radius from the subject, and must be terminated on site. If the subject is exposed to YOS005's anomalous effects for more than 13 hours, the site is to be in lockdown until termination of the subject. Object should be restored back in the locker after termination. Description: YOS005 is a metallic-type weapon that resembles a large sword. The inside of the structure is illuminated by multiple colors. The object is 4 meters tall, and its central structure resembles that of a human skull with bones bursting from 4 sides. YOS005 has a manipulation mechanism to human subjects that comes into physical contact with it. If acquired by a single subject, they will start to become very aggressive while wielding it. Their strength will significantly increase, and will possess highly destructive abilities. The sword will be able to cut through any type of matter it comes into contact with. If the sword touches organic matter, the organism will instantly die from blood loss. YOS005 has a time limit to whenever it activates or deactivates. YOS005 will be inactive during 5 to 10 hours, meaning it won't possess its abilities during this time. If active, it will illuminate the lights that contain its abilities, and will remain sitting until used by a subject. Addendum 005, 1. YOS005 came to the Foundation's attention when it was used by a simple human, presumably 23 years old. MTF Unit 17 observed that the subject killed 13 to 20% of people in the town of. The subject was quickly terminated after acquiring the sword. Incident 005. A human subject somehow managed to enter YOS005's chamber, and came in contact with it. He then began to become hostile. It exited the chamber and roamed around until finding human subjects. The subject escaped the site and ran 10 miles away. The MTF Unit 26 members eventually found the subject and terminated the subject. The item was later recovered. Item number YOS013. Object class safe. Containment procedures. YOS013 is kept in a 5-meter humanoid cell. She is allowed to leave her cell within 5 to 8 hours. After the limit of hours is up, she must be placed back in the cell accompanied by MTF Unit 08. The field must be under observation until another entity gains the abilities like the subject. Description: YOS013 is a 5 feet tall humanoid female with yellowish skin, pinkish eyes, eyelashes, pink horns, and eyebrows, purple hair, green dress, pink bow tie, bluish gloves, and shoes. Subject claims to be 21 years old and seems to have a calm personality. She has multiple abilities she uses sometimes, including manipulation, strength, summons lightning, glowing, and the rising of sharp material. She claims she got these skills when being on a specific field during the night. She often uses these abilities when she's in danger, or if someone else is in danger, so she protects the specific victim and kills the attacker. She is also able to speak in full sentences in English. An interview was planned with her. Addendum 013, 1. YOS013 was found in a field after gaining her abilities. She was brought to Site 03 for questioning. Addendum 013, 2. YOS013 was sent in the interview room to give out answers about how she got these abilities. Begin log.
Hello YOS013.
Alice Hermes, please.
Okay Alice, we saw you in some random field, and you seem to have some interesting abilities. Is there a reason why you have these?
No clue, I just went into a field and I have unusual skills now.
Do you think it had something to do with the field?
I'm not sure if the field had anything to do with this, but it could be a possibility.
Well, we currently are looking after the field you once been on. We'll keep on with this discussion if it works, so we'll keep you updated as soon as possible.
Whatever you say, Doctor.
End log. Addendum 013, 3. AD class was sent to the field and remained there for hours, until a strange plasma beam landed on him. The subject doesn't show signs of pain whatsoever, and gained the same skills as YOS 013. He is currently classified as YOS 013, B note.
The field somehow can pass the anomalous abilities to anyone who enters that specific field. It seems that the plasma holds on some elements to make up some action and pass it on to others. The field will be designated as YOS 013A. Until more information is needed.
Item number. YOS 006. Object class. Safe. Containment procedures. Item YOS 006 is to be stored into a rectangular wooden case that must be locked shut. Any permission to use YOS 006 must be approved by. Description. YOS 006 resembles a white plain face mask, measuring approximately 3 meters up, and 5 meters sideways. It is light in weight, only about half a kilogram. YOS 006 is capable of providing a subject that wears it as much care and protection it needs. It is able to resist any type of viral infection or illness that are nearby, and fully protect the subject. It was initially used for other discovered diseases to test its ability, and it is able to fully protect the subject who wears it. YOS 006 is discovered when a subject reports that the mask fully protects him from all illnesses. The subject was found and made him cease all info of it, and the mask was taken to Site 08. Addendum 006. YOS 006 was used for other anomalous diseases, like YOS 048, YOS 208, YOS 1876, and YOS 7217. All of these were unable to infect the subject, as it was blocked by the mask itself. Item number. YOS 023. Object class. Euclid. Containment procedures. The area, designated as YOS 023-1, is to be blocked access by any unauthorized personnel. Staff that are over level 3 and higher are to be allowed access with permission. Personnel are to be equipped with a walkie-talkie, a camera, and a microphone. Personnel that gained contact with instances of YOS 023-2 are to immediately evacuate. D-class personnel that are put on death row are to be put into YOS 023 and terminated by YOS 023-2. Description. YOS 023 consists of 2 components. YOS 023-1 is an abandoned town located in the far reaches of Alabama. It shows no signs of disrepair and decay, and the area is completely devoid of any residents. YOS 023 can be accessed by people with reality-bending machinery. When the subject enters, they will be stuck in this area until finding an exit. YOS 023's exact measurement is currently unknown, as it stretches at an incredible distance, almost if it goes on infinitely. YOS 023-2 instances are a horde of human civilians holding potentially dangerous weaponry. They show signs of aggression and will go after visitors if they come into contact with them. Instances often emit a loud roar when attacking. They will stop this if the target is killed. Addendum 023-1. YOS 023 was discovered when a certain citizen suddenly went missing, and was tracked down by MTF Unit 67, leading to YOS 023. Personnel then secured the abandoned town, and scientists created a machine that allows them to access the town easier. Addendum 023-2. During its research, several Site 09 personnel were killed by instances of YOS 023-2. The following targets were Agent Francois, Agent Gerald, Agent Franklin, Agent Katie, Agent Harry, and Agent Jackson. Item number. YOS 041. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 041 is to be kept in a 5 meter cell at all times. No one is to approach YOS 041 within 8 meters. In the case that YOS 041 shows starvation, it is to be fed a live animal within 2 to 5 hours. Description: YOS 041 is a humanoid entity, with devil horns, and with colors of purple, yellow, blue, and pink for skin and clothes. It stands at 4 meters tall with a weight of 250 pounds. It gains more weight if more nutrients are added. It shows signs of endless hunger and will find any type of food source that is edible. It can even try to devour a source of food while the subject is still alive. If the subject is able to reach the victim within 8 meters, it will immediately devour the victim whole and swallow it with no health issues. It will gain a bunch of weight when the subject is completely devoured. Note: by the time YOS 041 was discovered, it only gained 87 pounds. And by the time of this file being created, it now weighed 250 pounds. It will keep growing its weight by this time. It is unknown if YOS 041 will eventually get diabetes and sometime later will experience death. The possibility of it being immune and immortal is very much likely by many staff. Item Number: YOS 056. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 056 is to be saved into the secret files of the online Foundation site page. No one is to maintain direct contact with YOS 056 within long periods of time. Anyone who's been exposed to observing the object for too long is to be sent to a mental health room in Site 44. The picture is to be locked to prevent low-level personnel from accessing the file. Description: YOS 056 is a 2048 by 20 image featuring all types of disturbing faces that is meant to induce paranoia to people. The date it was created is unknown, and the creator who made the image is unknown at this time. It possesses mind-turning effects on people when they gain contact with it for long periods of time. If long-time exposure is made to the subject, they will show signs of paranoia and fear, and make sure to not see the picture again. But at this time, it induces hallucinations to the infected subject, and they will catch glimpses of similar faces watching them. After about several minutes, it will eventually kill the subject with unknown force. Personnel tried to see what killed these subjects, but the footage was cut off and the subject was dead with no assailant on site. Addendum: YOS 056 brought attention to the image when several people died and got paranoia upon seeing the image. Sometime later the image was nowhere to be seen in the Google Images. The Foundation found it via security means and placed it in the secured folder to prevent more incidents from happening. Item Number: YOS 057. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 057 is to be kept in a 7-meter container with soundproof glass surrounding the inner area. Interacting with YOS 057 is not to be attempted unless for testing purposes, and personnel shouldn't be within the soundproof interior by any means. Description: YOS 057 is a humanoid entity resembling a large canine with purplish fur, yellow skin, pink eyes and blue nose, wears gloves and shoes, green pants with suspenders, and lacking a tail. The entity stands up at 5 feet, and weighs 25 pounds. YOS 057 affects nearby subjects within a 3-mile radius by emitting a noise very deeply. Upon this happening, subjects will report feeling something inside their bodies. YOS 057 will repeatedly emit this noise, making the weird feeling inside the body feel even worse. Once the noise goes off from the entity 8 to 10 times, the subject explodes 3 seconds later with no traces found within the body. YOS 057 will remain in a docile state within 11 to 16 hours. Addendum 01. YOS 057 was found in an undisclosed place, and it was known that an unnamed person once inhabited the place. It was taken in Site 09 for examination. Addendum 02. In May 4, 1997, D8790 was taken in YOS 057's chamber and interacted with the entity. The subject reported the feeling in his body, and soon exploded after the ninth emitted noise YOS 057 made. There were no traces of the subject in the area. Item number: YOS 066. Object class: Euclid. Containment procedures: YOS 066 is to be within a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter steel cube with no openings available or any other views inside. There are to be no surveillance cameras within the cube in order to not trigger its state. Personnel are to use special equipment to make sure YOS 066 is still within the cube. Any type of action that will trigger YOS 066's state, like video footage, direct contact, and a single photo, are strictly prohibited, and the photographs are to be placed in a secret folder. Any signs of anomalous activity coming from within the cube is to be reported immediately. Description: YOS 066 is a 5-meter-tall humanoid-like figure with canine-like features, including 3-meter-long ears, a tail about 5 meters, with purple fur, and yellow skin. With facial features like pink eyes, a blue nose, and pink spots on its snout, and last with clothing like green trousers with suspenders with pink buttons, and blue gloves and shoes. It shows signs of low intelligence, shows weak muscles, although still capable of dealing harm to subjects, and its arms are extremely long, measuring 6 meters long. It is capable of opening its jaw to 7 meters than any other living subjects. It's not considered to be sapient due to low functions of the brain. When it's not triggered, it's in its docile state, beginning to emit soft sobbing sounds, and usually paces to the corner of the left wall. It is shown to be extremely shy, and tries to ignore and stay away from any living subject as possible. When direct contact is made with YOS 066's face, the subject is referred to as YOS 066-1. After minutes of contact, it will show severe emotional distress, and eventually go into its hostile state, and will start screaming incoherently. After several minutes, it will start tracking down a presumed victim. Long distances from YOS 066-1 doesn't seem to affect YOS 066 in any way. It somehow senses the location of YOS 066-1. No object that is capable of stopping YOS 066 from reaching its target is successful at doing so. Upon arriving at YOS 066-1's location, it will ruthlessly attack, kill, and YOS 066-1. It will 100% leave no other traces of YOS 066-1 other than the blood it caused. After minutes of the assassination of the YOS 066-1 victim, it will go back to its docile state after 3 more minutes. It will then attempt to go back to its original pacing location. Only a specific number of agents are to retrieve YOS 066 back to its container, and to place an object on its face to not cause another outbreak. Dr. Frankfurt started clarifying that YOS 066 is to be terminated as soon as possible due to its reckless and unstoppable behavior, also because many people kept looking at a picture of it. The 07 Council denied this request, and will accept this request in the near future if they specifically see the entity possess more capabilities. Addendum 01. AD class numbered 8506 was sent to a tall building suspended off ground from 36 feet up in the air. He was requested to look at a picture of YOS 066 and draw it on a piece of blank paper. Apparently, a drawn illustration of YOS 066 does not provoke the effects of the entity. After the request was complete, he was ordered to send the paper to the Site 13 facility by using a type of mail sender. After several hours, YOS 066 breached containment and sprinted to the location of D8506. It leaped up 36 feet off the ground and broke in the interior and terminated D8506. Addendum 02. In May 21, 1956, staff seemed to notice the activity within the cube. After hours of witnessing this, the cube broke apart and immediately deterred the staff to look away. This was eventually leading to the staff telling the 07 Council and adding more containment procedures to the entity. This was later confirmed. Item number YOS 414. Object Class Keter. Containment Procedures. Termination of YOS 414 is ongoing by tearing off pieces of it to possibly find a way to kill off the piece. It is to remain in a non-absorbent bulletproof container behind a concrete wall with a long pipe bending down to the item, and a mechanical device used to pick up matter from YOS 414 to test it. Upon no circumstances should YOS 414 be able to escape its chamber. If successful, the entire facility must be evacuated until pieces of the item were torn off largely and reduced into a smaller shape, and the torn pieces should be incinerated. After the destruction of Site-06, testing of YOS 414 must be cautioned until the termination of the item. Description: YOS 414 is a shapeless mass of human flesh weighing 150 kilograms. It is wet, cold, and sticky when touched upon response of doomed subjects, and the item increases in size when additional flesh is detected. YOS 414 can require more mass by coming into contact with a human subject, or other organisms if it chooses to, and will tear off the skin or fur of the doomed victim and leave the flesh at bay, allowing it to add more mass to it upon contact. It can absorb any structure that is non-organic and immediately break it down to tiny fragments and leave it. It can cause explosions if coming into contact with an explosive device. YOS 414 is responsible for the disappearance of thousands of people, and has also acquired animal flesh as well, also is responsible for the destruction of property and has been reported several times. Addendum 414-1. YOS 414 was undergoing a test by 2 researchers, but the test of its matter was negative, and YOS 414 somehow broke the container and escaped its chamber, consuming multiple members of Site-07, also a couple of YOS entities and items. The site was eventually destroyed by the item triggering a nuke. The item was immediately torn apart into large chunks and was quickly recontained, with the pieces incinerated. Addendum 414-2. YOS 414 was placed into YOS 682's chamber to test its effectiveness to the entity. It spilled onto the ground and slowly approached the entity. YOS 682 was dormant and resting during the time, and immediately woke up aggressively when it felt YOS 414 devouring its flesh. YOS 682 rotates around aggressively fast and destroys parts of its chamber, and bit into the flesh it saw, but the item started consuming it inside its body. YOS 682 has lost consciousness for several hours, and walking up tearing off the flesh that was completely covering it. It regrows its flesh and incapacitated YOS 414, making it motionless for several days. The item was retrieved without incident as YOS 682 was severely injured and showed difficulty moving. Addendum 414-3. YOS 414 was immediately up for termination because of the destruction of Site-06 and the endangerment of several Foundation members and YOS entities and items. It was torn off multiple times and made the torn piece motionless by using an injection to kill off the tissue with an effective method. Item number YOS 666. Containment Class Keter. Disruption Class Amuta. Risk Class Critical. Containment Procedures. YOS 666 is to be confined in a containment cell 12 miles beneath, currently being held in place with complex anomalous machinery in order to cancel all of YOS 666's anomalous activities coming from it. Any signs of damage from the machine caused by YOS 666 is to be immediately repaired to prevent a containment breach. If the machine is not repaired on time, YOS 666 is to be immediately found and to be prohibited to use its abilities as soon as possible. As of right now, it is currently difficult to keep YOS 666 in containment for long periods of time, due to its impossible anomalous properties. No other containment procedures are necessary at this time. Description: YOS 666 is a demonic colorful humanoid entity that possesses purple, yellow, blue, and pink clothing and skin. It shows very sharp teeth and its forehead seems to be melting for unknown reasons. YOS 666 is capable of speech, speaks in clear English, and will only speak whenever it kills a target or taunts it. YOS 666 is known to have multiple anomalous properties that it uses constantly. It can levitate, transport, summon lightning, telekinesis. It can also remove a living organism from existence if it chooses, and rip up its surroundings completely, and summon fire from the ground. YOS 666's properties can be stunned with some potentially complex machinery, and will become inactive in a certain amount of hours or days. How YOS 666 came into existence is currently unknown, but it is assumed it has been formed around billions of years ago after the universe formed. Addendum. YOS 666 was found by MTF Unit 69 when it killed 2 members. MTF Unit 69 was quickly killed off and YOS 666 transported to a different part of the world. Addendum 2. YOS 666 was found by a quite complex MTF unit numbered 75. The unit was able to completely stun YOS 666 for days by using a complex machine with lasers. It was contained shortly after. Audio caught from YOS 666.
Do you mortals think that you could keep me stuck down here for days? Well, unfortunately, this will never happen. I will find a way to get out of this hell, and I will simply kill everyone who is involved in this. See you in a bit, mortals. Ha 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 ha.
Item number. YOS 800. Object class. Keter. Containment procedures. Prior to Incident 800A. YOS 800 is to remain in a distant Foundation facility, currently Site 89, and is to remain in a separate continent at all times. YOS 800 is not to be interacted with in the event of an outbreak, and should be easily detained and recontained. Under no circumstances should it reach Site 07, and come near YOS 900. If it successfully left the site, MTF Unit 55 must be sent and track down its location. Interviews with YOS 800 are to be cautious about experiencing behavior change, and should be provided with YOS 2976 pills to prevent an outbreak. No interviews are to be given during these outbreaks. Prior to Incident 800B, decisions are to be made whether to terminate YOS 800 or not. Description: YOS 800 is a young Caucasian male approximately 5 years of age. He normally wears a blue shirt with indigo shorts and socks, and has brownish hair, and black shoes. Subject is 4 feet tall, weighs 34 pounds, and has an intelligence of 67. The subject is named Billy but often refers to himself as Bill. Subject is normally docile and has the behavior of an average adult. However, the subject will sometimes be agitated or hostile whenever he senses something or someone. He claims to hate a young little girl named Sally, and accuses her of being a killer in his mind. He wishes to reach up to Sally and quote-unquote kill his target. Multiple interviews were conducted with this behavior. See interviews 8338-1-3. This was questioned by staff members and tried to figure out what specific person is named Sally. They reached out to other personnel to discuss this information, and Site 06 staff members responded with an anomaly known as YOS 900. YOS 800 demands the staff to free him so he can finish his goal. This is to be denied. However, YOS 800 possesses multiple abilities, like superhuman strength, speed, and manipulation. Multiple breaches have occurred before staff members even realize he had those abilities, and they tried to separate him and YOS 900 away from one another. Addendum: YOS 800 was discovered in an isolated neighborhood, where Sally was the only person alive, and contained her for protection, but one of the MTF members came to notice that the blue-clothed boy is present in the house. The body was brought for examination. Subject came back to life and constantly tries to reach his victim by breaching containment multiple times. The subject was moved to a different facility in a separate continent. Interview 8338-1. Log of YOS 800's behavior. Interviewer: Dr. Interviewee: YOS 800. Begin log.
Good morning, Billy. Today we are going to discuss your behaviors today. They seem to get out of hand.
Well, I seem to be getting bothered by somebody I seem to know.
Okay, and what would that be?
Well, I would hate to say this, but I seem to be irritated with Sally.
Sally, huh? Who's this Sally you're referring to? There are a lot of people named Sally, you know.
Unfortunately, I can't remember her last name. I seem to have gotten a headache from whatever happened.
I see. Well, since you can't give us information about this Sally person, I suggest you take a rest.
But I feel like I'm missing something.
What would that be?
I feel like I would need to kill.
Sorry to interrupt, but you need sleep right now. Good night.
I guess I'll go to sleep.
End log. Closing statement. Who this Sally is unknown at this time as of April 18, 2000. Interview 8338-2. Log of the relationship of YOS 800 and YOS 900. Interviewer. Dr. Interviewee. YOS 800. Begin log.
Good morning, Billy. How was your nap?
Not okay. I was thinking about Sally.
Well, we still are trying to find a specific person named that, but I communicated with the Site 06 staff and I seem to get the answer to who this person is.
What does that mean?
Someone wants to talk to you.
Let me see then.
Doctor hands his phone to YOS 800 to reveal an incoming call from a caller with an unblocked phone number. He answers.
Hello.
Hello, bro.
Wait, it can't be.
What's wrong, Billy?
This is actually you stupid bitch. I will come and find you, and end your fucking existence.
Bro, what's the matter with you?
Whoa, just calm down.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking brat. I know this bitch and I'll pay her a visit.
Billy,
Shut up, girl. I can sense where you're at and I'll find you.
Attention all staff, YOS 800 has breached containment. I repeat, YOS 800 has breached containment. Please send MTF Unit 55 to track down the anomaly as soon as possible.
End log. Closing statement. YOS 800 was eventually caught and brought back to containment and was given Class A amnestics to remove the hostile behavior. Calls with YOS 800 and YOS 900 are not to be attempted at this time. Interview 8338-3. Log of the previous incident. Interviewer. Dr. Interviewee. YOS 800. Begin log.
Are you good? Are you fully calmed down now?
Yes, you have me some of those pills and I promise to not attempt this again.
Well, great. I would suggest that you never hear her again.
That's probably for the best. Also, her last name is Becker.
Good, that's all we need to know about her.
I think I need some sleep to forget this issue.
Very well then.
End log. Incident 800, A. YOS 800 breached containment unnoticed by staff and the MTF members are immediately tracking him down. He was nearly towards YOS 900's location and about 10 miles away. Incident 800, B. After 12 breaches occurred, the subject was sent to a faraway continent where it would be easier to capture and send him back. Due to the continuous nature of YOS 800, decisions are currently underway to decide whether to terminate YOS 800 or not to ensure that YOS 900 is perfectly safe. Item number. YOS 900. Object class. Keter. Containment procedures. YOS 900 is to be kept in a soundproof container, no less than 3 meters thick. Personnel are to remain outside the container for safety reasons. Personnel must not be within 3 meters of YOS 900 for more than 3 minutes. Personnel are permitted to enter the container to accompany YOS 900 for 1 minute while wearing a suit to prevent the subject from viewing them in any way. The glass surrounding the container must be bulletproof and indestructible to prevent the screams of YOS 900 from damaging and destroying it. YOS 900 must require a television, a drawing book, a bed, a toilet, a rug, and several dresses and clothing. YOS 900 will no longer be used in termination tests until further notice. Description: YOS 900 is a young Caucasian female approximately 6 years old. Although at that exact age, she doesn't show signs of aging since her containment. See Addendum 900A for details. She seems to have different kinds of clothing and hairstyles almost every day. Her most required clothing color is red. Her eyes are dark green, and most often uses lipstick for her amusement. She has a name known as Sally. She seems to have a sensitive effect of seeing dark figures within her proximity, and admitting to have seen it from an unknown R-rated movie. See Addendum 900A for details. If she sees this, she will start screaming at an extremely high volume, which is deafening to certain staff, and if the subject is exposed to this, they will slowly fade away without a trace. After they disappear, she will stop screaming and will have no memory of the person she made contact with. Addendum 900-1. YOS 900 seems to have a significant relationship with YOS 56922, as she somehow never sees the entity as a dark figure and often hangs out with it, presumably friends. Addendum 900-2. Termination Test Log. Subjects: YOS 900, and YOS 9901. Results: YOS 900 was placed into the chamber of YOS 9901 to terminate the creature. YOS 9901 immediately became hostile to her, and she sees the dark figure of the lemur, and she screams before the creature can reach her, and the creature fades away without a single trace. YOS 9901 was presumed neutralized. Addendum 900-3. YOS 900 was found in a two-story house called Illinois at Drive, with a family of 4, as seen with a picture. She seems to be alone in the house, with the exception of one Caucasian male, later designated YOS 800. She was sent to Site 06 for protection and was given a cell as a room. Addendum 900A. Interview Log. Interviewer: Dr. Matthew. Interviewed: YOS 900. Begin log.
Hello young lady, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling kind of sad.
Well, that's a problem. What did you experience in your past?
Well, I was living a pretty normal life, until I started getting curious about this movie that my parents wouldn't want me to watch because they said it was horrible.
What was the rate of the film?
They said it was R-rated, which I don't know what that means.
R-rated movies have content that won't be suitable for younger audiences, specifically those who are under the age of 17 or 18. But how old were you before we picked you up?
I am 6, but for some reason I stopped aging after my 7th birthday, but I still remain 6 years old.
Well, get back to the point of the movie.
Well, I convinced my parents that I will be fine with this movie since I do love movies. They said don't say I didn't warn you, and they started the movie.
Now what happens when you watch through it?
I started to get scared of the weird black things that were cornering the person, and I wanted to look away, and my parents were right about this, so I went to bed to forget all about this. But I woke up the next morning and I go to my parents to stay with them because I didn't forget about the movie completely, and then I see the weird black things right in front of me, and it terrified me so much that I began to lose it and scream right at them, and then after that they were gone, and I grew confused where my parents went, not to mention my brother was also with them.
That sounds kind of scary. Anyway, what happened after this?
Well, I was just...
YOS 900 was showing shock looking at Dr. Matthew, as she seems to be seeing something horrible.
Sally? You okay? What's wrong?
Monster.
YOS 900 starts to break down and begins her horrible loud screaming. Dr. Matthew then also screams as he disappears from the room. End log. Addendum 900B. The year that YOS 900 was born is unknown at this time. She said she was 6 years old, but she was found at June 2016, and she doesn't show signs of aging at all. Something must be preventing her from aging any further, and keep her at her 6th age. Incident 1008-900C. D-7498 was being sent into YOS 900's chamber, and he comforts her at all times, but the staff forgets that YOS 900 will see a creature for more than 3 minutes, and she screams at him, and D-7498 was considered to be terminated. The glass was broken to only 4 cracks and staff will replace it with a new one. Addendum 900-4. YOS 900's area is now being entered once a week. Item number: YOS 1010. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 1010 is to be put on Marine Watch and to be tracked with a Marine Watch detection drone. Any signs of anomalous activity coming from YOS 1010 should be reported to Marine Watch staff immediately. Description: YOS 1010 is a marine life form with some similarities to a species of shark, but only measures 8 meters long. It doesn't seem to have teeth, and some large eyes similar to human. Its structure is mostly hard when the Foundation discovered it before releasing it back into the ocean. Anytime YOS 1010 gets attacked by a predatory life form, it can defend itself by thickening its stone structures to prevent being attacked and possibly devoured. It can also partner with other shark species if it wants to. In the event when it experiences starvation, it can attack any life form it sees. When it finds its target, it will quickly catch them with its mouth despite it having no teeth, but life forms will somehow feel the subject's strong teeth as if it's invisible. Upon catching its prey, it will inject a strong acid from within its mouth tissue, and will kill its prey within 2 to 3 minutes, and will now devour the target completely. Foundation staff will only look after YOS 1010 when it brings more anomalous activity in the near future. Addendum 1010. YOS 1010 only seems to have one member of the species. If this singular member of the species dies years later and becomes extinct, YOS 1010 will be classified as neutralized until further notice. Item number: YOS 1061. Object class: Safe. Threat level: Passive. Containment procedures: YOS 1061 is to remain within its current location, with the door completely locked with security measures around it. Personnel are allowed to enter the room with permission. Description: YOS 1061 is a 6-meter bathtub, with a faucet on its rear end. It remains inactive when the subject is not present in the room. When a subject does enter the room, it will activate its faucet within 2 to 3 minutes, and pour water until the water reaches a certain peak of height, and will deactivate the faucet soon after. It will also block the drain to keep the water from draining out. If the subject decides to get in the water, they will eventually notice the refreshing effects of the water, and will eventually make the subject extremely clean without any soap. The subject will now remain clean for long periods of time and won't get dirty during the time. When the person leaves the room, the drain will be unblocked and the water will drain out, and wait until another comes in the room. Addendum: Here are the tests of subjects interacting with YOS 1061. Dr. Harrison. Harrison went in the tub, and is immediately clean and will remain that way for 10 to 13 hours. YOS 1163. The subject was placed into the room, and interacted with YOS 1061, and remained clean to rarely remain clean for 17 to 20 days. YOS 900. The subject was placed into the room, and interacted with it. She remained clean within 15 to 25 days. A male duck. The subject was placed into the bathroom. After wandering around for a while, it entered the tub, and was cleaned up just like the other human subjects. YOS 1061's affects humans and animals, and will make sure to make them clean as soon as possible until further notice. Item number: YOS 1497. Object class: Keter. Containment procedures: YOS 1497 is to be stored within a case accompanied by aluminum foil wrapper. Its effects must be paused when out of sight. No one is to make contact with YOS 1497 by any means necessary. If a subject makes physical contact with YOS 1497, they must be restrained and removed from the chamber. Personnel must be 10 miles away from YOS 1497's containment area. If a subject is inflicted with the effects of YOS 1497, they must be treated with Class E amnestics. If YOS 1497 is out of its cell, it must be tracked and sent back. Description: YOS 1497 is a row of cooked ham, approximately 18 slices released. Researchers believe that it existed about 17 years ago since November 12, 19. It seems to have a very manipulative effect on subjects who come near it. When the subject is within 2 to 4 meters of YOS 1497, they will get the sudden urge to eat it whole, and will show signs of saliva coming out of their mouths. When the subject is not in direct contact with YOS 1497, they will still attempt to do whatever they can to get the item and eat it. They will start to track it by smelling it. Subjects will react violently when their needs are not met with the item. Addendum 1497-1. After its containment in 1935, D-7402 was sent to the chamber of the item. Subject was ordered to eat the item to test its minimum effects. After he took a little bite, he instantly reacted to the taste and immediately started to take multiple bites at it. Subject was quickly removed from the cell. As of 1942, personnel within 10 miles of its area are infected with its properties. All infected members had to be terminated prior to the incident. Addendum 1497-2. On May 23, a researcher recorded an audio log of him wanting to eat the item YOS 1497. It was retrieved to Site 17 for observation.
Hi, have you seen my good food? I'm starving over here. I haven't experienced anything that is that delicious, so I want more of this loving stuff. I swear if I don't get my hands on that ham, I'ma flip out. So whoever finds that delicious ham, please bring it to me.
Item number: YOS 1689. Object class: Keter. Containment procedures. Prior to Incident 1689-1, access to YOS 1689's photo is to be privatized. The current YOS 1689-1 specimen must remain in the room at all times with the item. Free oxygen masks are to be used for personnel when entering the room. The room must be rowed to 3 glass interiors all filled with O2. No other dolls are to be present inside YOS 1689's room. The location must be blocked by electrical wires surrounding it, not to exceed YOS 1430's area. Description: YOS 1689 is a bed with a wooden frame, accompanied by white sheets and pillows. It measures approximately 4 meters vertical, and 3 meters horizontal. Tests have revealed YOS 1689 to be sentient, but the item is entirely immobile, and doesn't have the ability to transport elsewhere. It is currently located at an undisclosed house located 140 miles away from site, somewhere in the forest of YOS 1689 has the ability to affect human subjects who land on the item. Upon physical exposure, subjects will remain with the bed for an extended period of time, possibly forever. After 3 hours of exposure, the subjects will slowly lose their clothing. Special surveillance cameras revealed that unidentified particles within YOS 1689 will start to increase the temperature of the item itself or the room it currently resides in. Their behavior will also alter instantaneously and will now exhibit physical sexual acts while exposed to the bed. Once they are in the possession of the item, they are designated as YOS 1689-1. When a stuffed doll gets into close proximity to the bed, the infected specimen will start to make sexual contact with it. They will place it into any part of their body if they want to, and will produce flatulence. This flatulence seems to be the main meal of YOS 1689, and its desired goal is to keep the entire room it is located in as gaseous as possible, so that there would be no trace of oxygen. After months of sexual interaction with the doll, they will start to reproduce more dolls by releasing fecal eggs, measures 0.5 meters. The item doesn't respond to the egg, as it's not its main meal. After 2 to 3 months the doll will hatch and the YOS 1689-1 specimen will sexually interact with it as well. Addendum 1689-1. MTF Unit 6 were in charge of watching over the YOS 1430 territory, and they turned their attention to an undisclosed house nearly out of YOS 1430's area. They went inside to investigate, and eventually came to a response of smelling odor. They went to see a man of African American descent standing on the bed unclothed. They decided to terminate the man as the smell was unbearable for them to let the person keep producing flatulence. The bed was for unknown reasons under observation. Agents note:
What the fuck did I just see? A man with unknown age being nude on a bed. That has to be illegal or something. Also the odor is completely unable to get used to, so we have to kill the man so he doesn't shit his bed, and besides, that could have made the smell worse. Maybe the bed had something to do with this since we've gotten attention to weird anomalous objects.
Addendum 1689-2. A human male subject somehow managed to enter the room where the bed is, and gained its properties. He gained attention to a doll that resembles that of a ink-bendy jumbo plush doll. He had been under the sheets of the bed, possibly making it stinker, and for some weird reason married the doll. The man then gave birth to 5 dolls currently in fecal eggs. After this, no means of terminating the man is permitted at this time. Note:
This is the weirdest YOS we have ever contained since 2013. A man is now married to a simple doll, and gave birth to 5 other dolls. I honestly think this has gone on long enough, and I think we should terminate the man. Please let this end.
Denied. Incident 1689-1. Several personnel began to take notice of a man walking towards the house and into the bedroom. The staff were too late to stop him, and now will be left alone. It has soon been revealed that YOS 1689 gave attention to the man when viewed as a photograph. Item number: YOS 1736. Object class: Euclid. Containment procedures: YOS 1736's chamber is to be entered twice a week. Any signs of YOS 1736 missing must be detected and sent back to the chamber. Personnel requested to encounter YOS 1736 must give it some thankful quotes to prevent its disappearance from occurring. Personnel must not attempt to eat YOS 1736 by any means necessary, and signs of a chunk of YOS 1736's structure bitten off by a subject must be found and terminated immediately. If the entire structure of YOS 1736 is completely devoured, subjects affected by it must be given antibiotics to prevent the infection process from finishing. The whiteboard must be facing YOS 1736 at all times as requested by Dr. Description: YOS 1736 is a single Thanksgiving turkey served onto a plastic white plate accompanied by various consumable items. It has been known that it has existed after the completion of the first day of Thanksgiving. Despite many years passing, YOS 1736 never shows signs of decomposition in other foods, as it still remains fresh. YOS 1736 has the ability of containing its heat when it has been cooked in an oven, and resists any other temperatures from affecting it. It seems to have a fatal effect when eaten. If a subject attempts to consume YOS 1736 entirely, they will suffer from a fatal infection that lasts for 3 to 4 days. After that time, their body will alter into a new instance of YOS 1736 and take on the same abilities as the previous one. YOS 1736 is also known to transport itself to random parts of multiple buildings if not being thanked by an individual. If a subject is thankful to the specimen, it will not transport somewhere for a minimum of 5 to 6 hours. Addendum 1736-1. After its containment on June 15, 18, it was sent to Cycle 9 to be tested. D6069 was sent to its chamber to take a bite of the item. D6069 then begins to experience the side effects from the food, though this proved to not be fatal. Addendum 1736-2. D2230 was sent to YOS 1736's chamber to devour the whole item. After this, he began to experience side effects from the item, and turned into a second instance of YOS 1736. Addendum 1736-3. YOS 1736 was reported missing from its cell, and was tracked down by MTF Unit 28. It was in a young woman's home sitting in the kitchen counter, and was sent back to the facility. Addendum 1736-4. YOS 1736 was seen with a sticky note pasted on its structure. It read, "If you don't want this item to disappear, you have to be thankful to it." So D7663 was sent to its cell to be thankful to it, and it didn't transport for a couple hours. Addendum 1736-5. Dr. was inside the cell bringing a whiteboard inside, and make sure to always be facing YOS 1736. He then wrote a note to face the item. It says,
"I am thankful for this delicious fresh turkey, along with other foods. I can simply look at it all day if I want to. I wouldn't try to eat it as I'm never hungry, but thanks for this delicious food.
Item number YOS 1855. Object class Keter. Containment procedures. All instances of YOS 1855 are to be stored within a 10-meter containment chamber. Any instance that possesses organic tissue must be terminated immediately. Any personnel that feels any effects of getting inside an instance of YOS 1855 must be removed and quarantined for at least 4 days. Any YOS 1855 instance that is outside of its chamber must be moved by MTF Unit 19. If any member of the unit attempts to get in the specimen is to be terminated immediately. The chamber must be polluted by an air conditioner and an air freshener in order to terminate the smelling effects from the tissue-possessing specimen. It is often quite difficult to contain every instance of YOS 1855, due to some of them somehow escaping the chamber and are often found in people's homes. YOS 1855 instances that are found with organic tissue filling the inside, the house will be a containment area and is to block access from entering. If too many instances of YOS 1855 are in people's homes and gain contact to organic human tissue, most of them must be terminated. Description: YOS 1855 are a set of boxes made out of a rubber structure. They measure 4.5 meters tall, and possess some extra-dimensional properties. Instances of YOS 1855 teleport to random homes when humans are present inside. When a subject is nearby, it will use its abilities to attract the subject to go inside it. Once inside, it will alter the subject's body until it is a mass of organic tissue. The clothes will also melt away during this process until its structure is no longer present. The tissue will then be its protector from any organism. It will expel an odor of smell that can attract unsuspecting human subjects. Once they are close enough, the tissue will then connect with the skin, connecting to the mouth, and will then release a hard brown structure that has a bad smell and taste. It will then force the subject to swallow it whole. After 2 hours, the subject's body alters into another instance of YOS 1855, and will possess the same behavior as the others. These effects do not seem to affect animals, only humans will be targeted by the specimens. Addendum 01. April 17, 2002. The Foundation came to the attention of the first instance of YOS 1855 they discovered when an African-American male came into contact with it. The Foundation then found it in his bedroom and has been turned into an organic tissue structure. MTF Unit 12 came to the house to investigate. They were disgusted by the smell, but was told to recover it to Site 29. April 28, 2002. The box was sent to a 3-meter cubed container to test its effects. D7835 was sent in to test the effects while the tissue is present. He started to get an urge to come closer to the specimen. The substance connect with his mouth and gave him an infection for 2 hours, until he became another box inside his cell. More instances were reported found during this event. Addendum 02. Researchers came to the notice that multiple specimens of YOS 1855 somehow escaped their chamber, and they sent a different unit of MTF guards to track them down. After this happened about 76 times, they had to be terminated by request from the 07 command. Additional notes. As of May 14, 2009, multiple personnel were reported missing while still in Site 29, or when they're on break. Addendum 03. Multiple photos were sent to personnel in order to examine the first appearance of a YOS 1855 instance. Item number YOS 2713. Object class Euclid. Containment procedures. Due to the nature of YOS 2713-1, YOS 2713 is to be contained on site, Area 2713. It is to be kept in a bathroom-locked cell. The cell should be completely locked to contain YOS 2713-1. YOS 2713 must be required to get 4 rows of toilet paper daily. Any decrease on toilet paper left must let personnel buy more. Upon no circumstances is YOS 2713 allowed outside of the cell by any means necessary. If YOS 2713-1 manages to escape the cell, the area must be in full lockdown to prevent YOS 2713-1 from causing an outbreak. and must be forced back in the cell. Personnel must wear hazmat suits to prevent YOS 2713-1 from taking effect. Description: YOS 2713 appears as an African-American human male in his young ages, which is unknown, who is believed to be a civilian in the state of Michigan. He is currently suffering from a condition that will slowly alter his skin tone to a green shading, and is experiencing several side effects, examples: itching, defecation, and flatulence with extreme toxic fumes. He also gained the ability to resist other fatal illnesses, and pretty much survive for long periods of time. He completely lacks all clothing due to the itchiness of his body, and constantly is uncomfortable with clothing on. He pretty much refuses to wear any more clothing and will simply be nude. YOS 2713-1 is a type of virus/skin condition that hosts YOS 2713's body. It is severely contagious and will cause major damage to the subject's health and body. The virus is also very intelligent and will manipulate people to escape confinement areas in order to infect other subjects and other organisms. It has the unique ability to prevent other viruses from infecting other subjects and will make them live for long periods of time. It will also cause side effects when infecting a target. YOS 2713 is incapable of speech, as YOS 2713-1 prevents humans from using their vocal cords to communicate. YOS 2713-1 can also cause human subjects to behave in a very hostile manner, and will attempt to attack other subjects and kill them by defecating inside their mouths, and a second instance of YOS 2713-1 will be invading the body. Addendum 01. YOS 2713 came to the Foundation's attention when a young male was showing symptoms of a severe condition. They tracked down the man's location and secured him in his own home. He is also unable to eat or drink at all, as the virus mysteriously gives the man nutrition and vitamins to stay alive for long periods of time, so he will spend the rest of his days inside the bathroom while being unable to clean himself. Addendum 02. Incident Report 1003-2713-08. While containment was set up for YOS 2713, the virus manipulates the man to become hostile according to video surveillance. He then began to attempt to break down the cell door to escape and kill all human personnel present. He started defecating in the mouths of several staff members, until he escaped the area. MTF Unit Team 16 went out to find YOS 2713 and return him back. Addendum 03. Following Incident Report 1003-2713-08, multiple breaches have occurred with YOS 2713-1, and approximately 2,560 Area 2713 staff members were killed, and was out killing more civilians. Following this report, a request for reclassification to Keter is accepted.
Note: the file you are attempting to read is a Level 4 contagious cognitohazard. Personnel under Level 4 clearance must not attempt to access the file by any means.
Item number: YOS 2713. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: the entire area of Area 2713 must be highly secured, and the inner and outer chambers of YOS 2713 must be sealed shut at all times. No means of acquiring YOS 2713 toilet paper is necessary at this time. In the event of YOS 2713 entering aggressive state, must be quickly stunned. Will electrical equipment, YOS 2713-1 must be terminated by any means necessary to reduce the effects of YOS 2713. No one under Level 4 clearance level must be within YOS 2713's containment area, or attempting to access the file, and must be terminated if not responding. Temperatures must be under 19 degrees Celsius to keep YOS 2713 in a dormant state. Description: YOS 2713 is a human male of African descent, age unknown. He is currently suffering from a severe condition and experiencing severe side effects. He is also constantly unable to speak, clean himself, and eat at will, as he is being manipulated by YOS 2713-1 almost daily. His behavior can also be manipulated into a hostile state, and attempts to defecate on the mouths of people to spread the virus. YOS 2713-1 is a contagious virus that shows signs of intelligence, and can manipulate the body of YOS 2713 into anything to escape from confinement. Its goal is to make as much stench as possible and make YOS 2713's entire body a green shade. It is easily stunned by electrical waves and can be dormant in constant low temperatures. Subjects who encounter YOS 2713 or personnel under Level 4 clearance attempting to access the file will develop fecal matter inside their mouths and become a host for an instance of YOS 2713-1. Addendum 01. Since multiple incidents occur, the area has been secured several times, and attempts of neutralizing YOS 2713-1 are ongoing. Item number: YOS 2713-1. Object Class: Neutralized. Containment Procedures: After termination of YOS 2713-1, no containment procedures for YOS 2713 are necessary at this time, and Area 2713 should be shut down. Description: YOS 2713-1 was a contagious virus that manipulated YOS 2713's body to escape containment, but after termination, YOS 2713 is released from its effects and is now a normal human. Note: since after the termination, samples of YOS 2713-1 inside YOS 2713 are being used for testing. Item number: YOS 2766. Object Class: Euclid, previously safe. Threat Level: Guarded. Containment Procedures: YOS 2766 is to be contained in a 3-meter containment cell, standing on a 2-meter rectangular table. Testing must only be approved by doctors. Only 2 researchers and 1 D-Class are to enter YOS 2766's cell. Instructions are to be noted for the single D-Class. Activation of YOS 2766 must not be triggered when not for testing. Upon a request for the D-Class, they are to cautiously touch YOS 2766 to trigger its effect. After the subject's transformation, they must wear a different size of D-Class uniform. No one is to touch YOS 2766 about 15 to 20 times every 14 hours. Upon touching it about 15 to 20 times, the affected subject is to be terminated after the end of the side effects. After the event of Incident 2766.10, the cell must be fully locked at all times. Description: YOS 2766 resembles a 2-meter-tall pink vase. The inside of the object is a pitch-black dark void. Where it got this is currently unknown. Upon putting something inside, the object tends to disappear. The date it was created is unknown. It is assumed to be created in the early 1700s or 1800s. YOS 2766 reacts with physical contact with human subjects. YOS 2766 has smoke within its structure, and can only exit out the mouth if physical contact is made. If a human subject comes into contact with the object, they will experience changes to their physical body. An unknown source of pink smoke will immediately come out of the object and immediately affect the subject. It will change their body shape, either thin, thick, bigger, or muscular, or a change in gender. It cannot be reversed in any way, and will always gain this shape. Exposure 1. Exposure 2. A female D-Class, D1071, was sent into the cell. She was asked to touch the surface of YOS 2766. Subject hesitates for a second before touching it. After physical contact was made, a puff of pink smoke comes out the item's mouth hole, and the D-Class's breast significantly expands. She was then asked a second time to touch the object. She refused to do this, but was forced to do it. Upon touching it again, a puff of smoke appeared again, and her thighs expanded. The test ended. Addendum 2766.1. Multiple members of D-Class personnel were tested with YOS 2766, and their body changed almost immediately, or caused little effect. After the effect went off, they tapped it repeatedly, and one Class D's shape altered heavily. See Incident 2766.10 for details. Incident 2766.10. A test was set with one male Class D, and was warming up to touch it. After the warm-up he touched it almost instantly. After this, instead of pink smoke coming out, black and white smoke exited in the shape of a skull. The object's structure becomes darkened with red cracks forming, and the subject's body altered heavily, as he begins to bleed and his limbs and torso contorting to impossible angles. The test was paused immediately and the subject was terminated. Addendum 2766.10.03. The same female Class D was tested with YOS 2766, while it was emitting smoke from its mouth, and smoke on the ground. Once she touched the object, the smoke disappeared. Then the subject's body changes, her breasts expanded again, ripping off the uniform with them exposed. Then all of a sudden, a large beam of smoke exits and creates a whirlwind. The D-class was no longer seen again. Once she returned, she explained that she was in an Egyptian-type location, and was accompanied by 3 humanoid females, designated as YOS 2766-1. They were clothed in yellowish wraps of paper towels, and they wore a crown with white dresses. They replaced her D-class uniform with a headband and a white dress. They then encountered an unknown entity who touched her. She was then transported to an area with an ancient table and had a baby covered in the white cloth while a single spotlight was shining down. She then sees a strange dark and humanoid creature while the spotlight is shutting off and on. She then quickly took the baby from the creature who is probably attempting to harm the infant. She then comforts the baby and is instantly blasted with a large pink beam, which sends her back to the entity's area. The entity then sends her back to the containment area of YOS 2766 using its abilities. The subject was then removed from the room and site members replaced her ancient clothes with D-class uniform, and the metallic objects were secured by multiple lasers. But the objects were self-transporting themselves back to the subject. Addendum 2766.11. After Site 17 was destroyed by Chaos Insurgency 45, the status of YOS 2766 is currently unknown. Item Number: YOS 4411. Object Class: Keter. Threat Level: Danger. Containment Procedures: Updated Containment Procedures. YOS 4411 is to be kept in a sealed steel container no less than 3 meters by 3 meters by 3 meters by 3 meters, and no less thick than 3 meters. Air conditioning must be outside the container to blow away any flatulence gas. If YOS 4411 is successful at breaching containment, or by using Dimension/4411, staff is to immediately track down YOS 4411 by any means necessary. If unsuccessful at capturing YOS 4411, MTF guards will track down YOS 4411's location anywhere on land. If YOS 4411 is found, must be in an indestructible steel container immediately. Any YOS 4411-1 instances that are present are to be terminated immediately. Previous containment procedures: YOS 4411 must be kept in a 12-meter by 12-meter humanoid containment cell. Personnel are permitted to clean up the cell by removing fecal matter inside if gained permission to do so. About 8 air conditioners are to be used to blow away the methane from YOS 4411. If a containment breach is caused by YOS 4411, he must be found and contained immediately. If he attempts to do a fecal attack, nearby staff must be warned. If a YOS 4411-1 instance is present, it must be terminated immediately. Description: YOS 4411 is a young Caucasian male, presumably age 6. He is portrayed as being a troublemaker who shows no remorse for anyone he attacks. He shows absolutely no body hair, instead it illuminates a shiny structure on his body. He seems to have a strange irritation of hating clothing, and attempts to take them off immediately. He is capable of releasing flatulence for long periods of time, and also can cause large amounts of defecation to release out of his anal cavity. The flatulence is so toxic when released, which is 10 times more toxic than humans, that it is able to kill a subject closer than 3 meters. The defecation of YOS 4411 results in the feces being solidified or liquefied. The feces have the same toxicity as the gas. If subjects are closer to them, they will die. YOS 4411's feces can be useful to him on some occasions. He can use it to escape containment by forming them into tools, but his most preferred escape is using the air duct. YOS 4411 has the ability to reproduce instances of YOS 4411-1. YOS 4411-1 instances are offsprings of YOS 4411. They are species of feces that measure 3.5 meters in height and 1.5 meters wide. They are sentient and have internal organs made out of their structure, and also have a bladder to release the toxic flatulence gas. They are extremely hostile, and even though they are lacking a skeleton, they can form strong bones inside each part of the body to injure multiple subjects, and will devour them when subjects come into physical contact with them. Dimension/4411. YOS 4411 can also escape into his pocket dimension, known as Dimension/4411, and is also revealed to be an alternate reality that is outside this reality. Staff members are prohibited to enter the dimension, as they use D-class personnel to enter it. The dimension shows a darkened building. With the exception of the adding of lights, it triggers echoes that can be heard from 4 miles. Tracking down the echoes of YOS 4411 is almost impossible, as he has good eyesight despite the darkness, and the staff often warn D-class personnel to avoid him or escape the dimension. Many of them were terminated by YOS 4411 due to not being able to see him, and not paying attention to the distant echoes of his stomach growls, flatulence, and speech. This D-class testing is discontinued at October 14, 2000. As Mobile Task Force members enter to find and recontain YOS 4411. If unsuccessful at finding YOS 4411, he can exit the dimension to transport somewhere on the planet, which can be 100 miles away from Site 07. YOS 4411 is currently being forced to wear his original clothing continuously, but he will still refuse to wear them. Addendum 4411-1. YOS 4411 was discovered in a 2-story house from Montana at Drive on April 12, 2020. The foundation was called by a child who claims that his parents are being very aggressive towards him and his other brothers, except for one sister. He claims them to be an aggressive entity that is not his parents at all, so MTF guards are on their way to capture or terminate them. The child gave them his home address and they immediately went out to stop them. The MTF guards are outside the window seeing the parents of the child giving the 3 brothers their brutal punishments. His dad was holding a knife as if attempting to kill them. Before he could have a chance of doing this, he was startled, along with the others, by one MTF member barging into the house and immediately terminated the punishers. 3 children showed signs of blunt force and trauma, along with a few bruises and scratches, and shown signs of bleeding. They lacked clothing also. They were eventually sent to Site 06 for protection and examination, while the deceased members were sent to a ditch near Drive. However, 2 members, later designated YOS 4411 and YOS 4589, apparently refused to be sent and attempted to attack, but were quickly subdued and were forcefully sent to the site. Addendum 4411-2. During the event of YOS 414 breaching containment, while one of the security personnel was watching the cameras, he saw YOS 4411 out of his cell, and attempted to attack the anomaly, but failed and was immediately devoured into YOS 414. After Site 06 was completely destroyed, many YOSs survived the incident, and was recontained by all staff. Researchers found half of the anomalies survived, while others were killed by YOS 414. It has been reported that YOS 4411 can resist other anomalies' effects. Subject is also indestructible, meaning that it cannot be stunned or killed in any way. He is immune to hot or cold temperatures, examples: deserts and tundras, therefore he ignores any temperature changes he's exposed to, even without clothing. He is also infested with various viruses, which the subject doesn't respond to, meaning he also prevents the viruses from dealing any harm. Terminating YOS 4411 is not possible at this time. In his anal cavity with close-up microscopic tools, he is infested with instances of YOS 4423, which is passive towards the anomaly, due to him continuing to release flatulence gases, which is their meal, and never attempting to demand for more. Instances of YOS 4423 will often kill off viruses infesting YOS 4411 if disturbed. Addendum 4411-3. On August 21, 2020, YOS 4411 was tested to try to terminate YOS 682 for termination attempt /682-12. Test began on 2:15 p.m. YOS 4411's chamber was lowered to YOS 682's cell, and when it opened up, the subject was released out of his enclosure and immediately gained contact with YOS 682. YOS 682 immediately sprinted towards YOS 4411, but the subject jumped on its back and started attacking it from behind. YOS 682, realizing that the child is on it, it started spinning around several times to make YOS 4411 fall off. It was successful and it devours him completely. It doesn't realize that YOS 4411 is still alive, so he attacks him inside its stomach. YOS 682 became sick and disgusted, and he vomited fecal matter and acid, including YOS 4411. After being released, the child leaps onto YOS 682's mouth, and reproduces a YOS 4411-1 instance. As it felt threatened by YOS 682's mouth, it became aggressive as it formed strong bones inside to immediately break the jaw of YOS 682. YOS 682 roars in pain. At this point it will no longer attempt to harm YOS 4411 by any chance, as the child has a chance to attack it once again, leading to YOS 682 being knocked unconscious. End test. Results. After the test, YOS 682 lost about 60% of its body mass, but still managed to resist the attacks and wasn't terminated in the process. The test was a failure. Addendum 4411-4. YOS 4411 has breached containment on May 27, 2021. Agent was sent to capture YOS 4411 without incident. Begin log.
Alright, I'm in.
Alright, try to detect 4411 if he's close by.
I'll try my best.
Agent traveled at least 5 miles in 2 minutes. At this point the echoes from YOS 4411 are heard.
Hold on, I'm hearing something.
I think I heard someone. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind.
I think I heard 4411.
Try to locate him as soon as you can.
At this point YOS 4411 was near and he attacked Agent, without him knowing.
Well, it seems that we need to find 4411 now.
End log. Incident 4411-1. YOS 4411 was being tested on by what makes his body so infected. Researchers collected a piece of YOS 4411's DNA, a piece of fecal material. When YOS 4411 is not being observed, he randomly escapes his chamber without the staff even knowing. In surveillance video footage, YOS 4411 escapes inside Dimension/4411, and closes it to possibly prevent MTF members from tracking him down, so researchers sent MTF Unit 16 to track down YOS 4411. After a 100-mile run, Unit 16 took notice of a village covered in a liquefied fecal matter. They went to go investigate the village, and they found all civilians dead during the event. YOS 4411 doesn't seem to be around the village, and is thought to have escaped from the village to run off somewhere else. After a 50-mile run, another village was attacked and civilians were killed. This time, YOS 4411 was found in the village, and was immediately chased by Unit 16. He was eventually captured and was forcibly shoved into a container. However, the kid was resisting the capture and was eventually able to break out of the unit's strength, and killed all members. He was then tracked down by MTF Unit 23, and was 1,280 miles away from Site 07. The unit was eventually able to find YOS 4411 and was strong enough to subdue him and put him into an indestructible container, and was then sent back to the facility. In July 10, 2021, after recontainment of YOS 4411, Dr. Stronghold took notice over the breach and assumes that the nature of the child is very dangerous and can easily escape if he wants to, and he wants the staff to terminate YOS 4411 immediately. This was denied due to his body simply being indestructible, and cannot be killed in any way. Whenever YOS 4411 is growing weaker in a couple of years, there may be a chance that it will be possible to terminate YOS 4411. As a result, containment procedures have been updated. Item number: YOS 4817. Object class: Keter, previously Euclid. See Incident 4817-1. Containment procedures.
YOS 4817 is to remain in a residential home. To prevent escape from it, any signs of behavior from it should be reported immediately.
This sentence was stricken from the file. YOS 4817 is to be kept within a 7-meter by 4-meter containment cell at all times, with a supply of oxygen masks once approved for entry. No one is to make direct contact with YOS 4817 with any reason. Within 3 to 4 days, YOS 4817 is to be fed food supplies with calories not larger by 500. If a 500-calorie meal is present, the food is to be evacuated from the room when YOS 4817 is not in a hungry state. If YOS 4817 completely consumes a 500-calorie meal, the containment cell is to remain shut until the subject is fully done with its ejection state. If YOS 4817 somehow manages to break out of its cell, personnel are to not directly encounter it. The surroundings must be fully locked until the tranquilizer smoke completely incapacitates it. Description: YOS 4817 is a humanoid that resembles an average African American human, age unknown. It completely lacks all possession of clothing and appears to cease all function of walking on 2 legs. It appears to wear a hat and a blindfold on its head, leaving the rest of the body exposed. The subject shows signs of blindness, and cannot predict what its surroundings are. The subject is still capable of movement, and just crawling on all 4s. The only way it can get around is by sensing the path it wants to take. It can also sense some supplies of food, and will follow the trail to eventually find it and eat it. YOS 4817 has about 4 stages it possesses. Dormant state. Whenever it's done sensing other matter, it will remain docile for long periods of time, and will even rest for long periods of time, although while sleeping, it would eject toxic gas constantly. Hungry state. When showing signs of hunger, it will try to sense some nearby food supplies. When it's near, it will follow the path to the food. Once it gets there, it will eat the food. However, if the food reaches above 500 calories, it will stop eating one single food and start ejecting toxic flatulence gas, and release toxic feces that extend from 1 to 70 centimeters. When YOS 4817's meal is done, it will return back to its dormant state. Hostile state. When YOS 4817 senses a living organism or some type of security device nearby, it will directly go towards both of them. Once direct contact is made with the subject or item, it will immediately go hostile and easily pin down the target and start attacking with its toxic gas and feces, eventually killing the subject and the devices, losing all connections due to the gas's strength. After the target is taken down, it will become dormant once again. Ejection state. At a random time during its dormant state, it will go into an ejection phase and start releasing very toxic gas and feces, which will affect every living subject and devices within a 10-mile radius. After the phase is complete, it will go back to being dormant again. YOS 4817 shows little intelligence, and only desires to roam around the world acting like a new species for Animalia. Even though the subject is considered to be anomalous, hence the strong ability to excrete very toxic feces and gas, it still feels the need to eat, so it tries to find food to sustain itself. Addendum 4817-1. YOS 4817 was found within a residential home in Street. Where it was in the basement in a laundry room. He was surveillanced by MTF Unit 27 in order to track down his movements, but soon after, the subject attacked one of the cameras and forced it to disconnect. This was reported immediately after. Incident 4817-1. YOS 4817 was eventually set up for relocation to Site 77, but several MTF Unit 27 members was killed by YOS 4817 as it was hard to incapacitate it. It remained in a hostile state for more than 3 hours, until all Unit 27 members were killed in action. MTF Unit 83 eventually came and used a type of gas that easily incapacitated YOS 4817. Prior to this incident, YOS 4817 has been reclassified to Keter until further notice, due to the subject's constant escaping and attacking of Site 77 personnel. Note:
I think it's best to leave this guy alone. He's mad when he feels threatened. And of course, he's blind and stinky.
Dr. Sniper. Item number: YOS 4840. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures. Containment of YOS 4840 is impossible by any means. Personnel must keep an eye on the location where YOS 4840 is at, and personnel must scare it off by going nearby it. YOS 4840 must remain in its original location at all times. A barbed wire fence must surround its location to prevent escape. If it attempts to leave the area, MTF Unit 27 must track it down as soon as possible. At no circumstances is YOS 4840 required to defecate in a distant room. Personnel must scare it off before it affects the room and becomes inaccessible. Description: subjects who catch glimpses of YOS 4840, or track it in video surveillance describe it as a humanoid figure that resembles a nude African American. Researchers eventually took notice that its DNA is nowhere close to regular human DNA, but still resembles a dark-skinned human. Despite YOS 4840 being unable to be captured due to its instant transportation, they used a different type of technology to test its DNA by taking photographs. YOS 4840's anomalous properties is the reaction to stay out of sight from living organisms. This includes humans. It can tell when something is moving nearby, and will retreat immediately to a distant room, a dark room if it chose to. YOS 4840 can transport to a different area using open spaces. Despite its size, it can phase its entire body to make room for the entire transporting. Subjects reported that once it's in a distant dark area and out of sight, they heard loud sounds of flatulence and possibly defecation. Then they came to notice that an entire room is completely covered in fecal matter, and it's inaccessible. They ran out due to the foul smell. YOS 4840 can rarely transport out of the location it's within, but can't transport out if a metal barbed wire fence is outside the area. Addendum 4840-1. YOS 4840 was found in a house in Michigan in Street. When Foundation staff caught glimpses of YOS 4840, but no matter what they did, they couldn't contain the entity, so they tried to scare it off and block it from escaping the house. Addendum 4840-2. Multiple people who brought the house YOS 4840 resides in caught glimpses of the entity. They had to move out of the house because of the foul smell from the constant flatulence and defecation. Item number: YOS 4857. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: YOS 4857 is to be contained in a 3-meter cubed cell no less than 4 meters thick. Any hostile action coming from YOS 4857 must be stunned. No one is to make contact with YOS 4857 by any means necessary. If this happens, YOS 4857 must be stunned by a firearm immediately. At this time, there is no known way of terminating YOS 4857. Description: YOS 4857 is a wild turkey, Meleagris pavo, that has the ability to resist any attempt of attacks and cannot be killed in any known way. The specimen is hostile to any organisms that attempt to kill it, and will do whatever it can to kill the organism. It is strong enough to destroy any hard surfaces, examples: metal, gold, titanium, iron, etc. YOS 4857 has also been able to keep its flesh at bay, and prevents any organism from cutting into it. Its most preferred prey is humans. As individuals attempt to kill the bird to serve it for Thanksgiving, it will use any part of its body to kill the human as much as it can. Addendum 4857-1. YOS 4857 came to the Foundation's attention when it killed a single specimen of Crotalus cerostes, horned rattlesnake. It was then captured later on and sent to Site 13. Item Number: YOS 5036. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: the forest that YOS 5036 instances are located at is to be blocked from entering. Any entity that attempts to enter the area must be terminated immediately. No fewer than 5 MTF Unit 6 guards are to enter the forest at any time. Any YOS 5036 instances that completely infected the MTF Unit 6 guards must be completely terminated. Any signs of a YOS 5036-1 instance outside the area must be sent out into it using a single catapult. Any entity that are under the effects of YOS 5036-1 must be incinerated to prevent the effects from proceeding. Every October 31st, individuals must be not within 3 meters of the area to prevent the YOS 5036-1 infection from spreading. Description: YOS 5036 are humanoid entities that measure 6.5 meters tall. They possess a pale white skin tone and wears a red tie black tuxedo with a pair of shoes. They lack most facial features except with a nose and mouth. The nature of YOS 5036 is currently classified, as it poses a considerable threat to all life forms. Once an instance has spotted a certain organism, it will start to attack it. Some life forms are unable to outrun YOS 5036 instances, as they easily outrun every life form. Once an organism is caught, they are killed immediately with possible blunt force. Surveillance cameras show an instance of YOS 5036 sending the victim's body to a certain location of the forest, and shows it mysteriously releasing green vines out of the body, and letting them go to let it spread throughout the entire body. After this process is complete, it will alter the body into a single pumpkin. These are known as YOS 5036-1. Drones show YOS 5036 sending the pumpkin to another specific location, and will leave it there for a certain amount of days. After a couple days the pumpkin carves itself into a face similar to a jack-o'-lantern. The pumpkin will periodically form instances of YOS 5036 continuously. YOS 5036-1 instances were spread to almost every area in the forest, and were sent to a cave that YOS 5036 specimens rest in, and sometimes appear outside the forest. YOS 5036 desires to hunt down prey during the night, and will wander around the forest until finding a specific target. During the day, they stay in the cave and do something inside the cave until sunset. Addendum 5036-1. There were missing reports of certain children, specifically Andrew, Louis, etc., and many parents and guardians were seen worried about the incident. Multiple Foundation staff members sent the parents to Site 02 to talk about it. A young Caucasian woman named was sent to Site 02 for answers. She seemed worried about her own kid apparently named Andrew, and she showed a video of her talking to him.
Okay Andrew, you will go trick-or-treating with your friend, but I will let you go by yourself, but remember to be safe, okay?
Yes, Mother, I will be cautious about this.
Okay, good luck.
After the conversation, she said he was gone for about 4 hours, and she was worried about it. She was sent out later on. It has later been confirmed that he was killed by YOS 5036. Addendum 5036-2. The forest was investigated by MTF Unit 6 to find the cause of the disappearances of children. And they searched for 3 minutes until finding a YOS 5036 specimen, which was quickly terminated after. For another 3 minutes, they found a single YOS 5036-1 specimen, It seemed to be forming a specimen of YOS 5036. It was destroyed. A single specimen of YOS 5036 was contained and sent to Area 31 for testing purposes. Incident 5036. After the retrieving of a YOS 5036 specimen, it was doing something the staff didn't know before. It was destroying the chamber and easily breached containment. It was unable to be stopped due to its immense speed and strength. It was eventually stunned by expert MTF Unit 66 members. Addendum 5036-3. Testing log YOS 5036. Tested. YOS 5036. Subjects. YOS 4052, YOS 6705, and YOS 2646. 3 anomalies are placed into YOS 5036's chamber. The specimen started to attack. YOS 4052 started lunging towards it but was immediately killed. 2 other life forms attempted to attack but didn't hit it, and their bodies were altered into YOS 5036-1 specimens. Item number: YOS 5278. Object class: Keter, previously Euclid. Threat level: Danger, previously guarded. Containment procedures:
YOS 5278 is to be kept in a sealed bathroom at all times. Personnel are to remain outside the room and report any behavior coming from it. YOS 5278 must not come into contact with any personnel for any reason. Personnel are required to wear a mask for protection.
This sentence was stricken from the file. Prior to incident, personnel must not be within 5 meters of YOS 5278 at all times. Any signs of personnel acting in an unusual way must be quarantined. The bathroom door and the window must be sealed shut at all costs in order to not cause a breach from YOS 5278. Description: YOS 5278 appears as a human male in African descent. It shows no signs of high intelligence, and its DNA was mutated, but still remains in a humanoid shape. The only change is the behavior of the human, acting like a mischievous child that teases people, and it shows murderous intent. It will constantly excrete flatulence gas that is toxic to humans. This gas seems to possess some lethal effects. It will cause the subject to be mad at YOS 5278, and simply tell it that he's a very bad boy, but the human won't react to this speech, and will get the correct timing to kill the subject with toxicity. Many people placed surveillance cameras in the bathroom, and most of them are worried that YOS 5278, when it gets into close proximity to the cameras, they think when it excreted the anomalous gas, it would infect them. But this doesn't seem to work, as it just teases with the cameras, almost if it's teasing the Foundation staff if it sees through. Incident: when the guards blocked the bathroom, they got infected by the gas and went inside the bathroom. They both were killed afterwards. As a result, new containment procedures were being used, including reclassifying. Item number: YOS 7005. Object class: Keter. Containment procedures: YOS 7005 is to be kept in a sealed bedroom at street. Windows are to be bulletproof and indestructible to prevent escape from YOS 7005. If the windows aren't bulletproof, they must be replaced with them immediately. In the event of a breach from YOS 7005, the subject must be contained as soon as possible. Personnel are to be warned about their surroundings to prevent an unnoticed death. Personnel must track down sounds emitted from YOS 7005 and quickly recontain it after subduing. Subjects' requests for exiting are to be denied. Description: YOS 7005 is a presumed human male of African descent, measuring approximately 5 meters tall and wide. Subject seems to move with all 4 limbs, almost as if he lost the ability to move on 2 legs with unknown reason. The intelligence of YOS 7005 is that of a young mischievous child that basically does whatever he wants. Since the intelligence of a child is known, the actual age of the person is unknown. When the subject sees a suitable target, it will quietly sneak towards them, hiding in plain sight at all times. It will not attack until the target is at rest. At this moment, it will attack the target with force and toxic flatulence gas and fecal waste. Subject usually laughs when it does this, which is the reason why it is mischievous. Subject usually rests at a certain time when it's tired. It will rest on a soft structure it could find and will rest for a certain amount of time. When the subject is present, it will sense them and start ejecting toxic flatulence and defecation until the target is dead. Addendum 7005-1. Interview. Interviewer. Dr. Tesla. Interviewed. YOS 7005. Begin log.
Hey 7005. Huh, who said that? My name is Tesla. I am here to talk to you. What do you want? I'm playing with someone right now. I want to talk about your behavior recently. $7,005. Answer me right now.
Two hours later.
Sorry, were you saying something? Man, you really are mischievous. Anyway, since you've ignored me for 2 hours, I want to talk about your behavior. Let me out. I'm sorry, what? I said let me out. I want to play with someone else. No. Don't disobey me, let me out. Listen, can we just...
Let me out.
I said no and that's final. 7005? He, you've got to play with me now. Oh shit.
End log. Closing statement. YOS 7005 has somehow breached containment during Tesla's interview. Subject is later caught and the remains of Tesla were incinerated. Item number. YOS 10087. Object class. Safe. Containment procedures. YOS 10087 is to be kept in a 25 meter by 15 meter containment chamber with additional fences around it. No one is to enter YOS 10087 unless for use. Only D-class subjects or tested animals should enter the item. Once the process is complete, the now deceased victim must be removed to not add any more decreased temperatures inside the item. Description. YOS 10087 is a large item, 20 meters in height, and has a black concrete surface surrounding it. It possesses a glowing X on the far right side of the front, and shows small details of green structures. The front of the item is openable and is able to be entered. It is very cold in the interior, -125 degrees Celsius, and it shows signs of condensation. The entrance to the item will immediately close and lock upon entry for the subject. After 2 to 3 minutes, subjects will hear deep growling noise nearing the item. This source is not heard outside the item. After about half minutes of this source, the supposed entity will start assaulting the item and also the subject inside and shake it violently. This can be seen outside the item although staff do not see the entity causing this movement. The entity will stop shaking the item once it senses that the subject is deceased, and will leave the item standing or laying on the ground. After 4 hours of leaving the dead subject inside, the interior will consume the body and convert it to a more cold temperature, adding more coldness to the interior. YOS 10087's entity who kills subjects inside is unknown at this time, and has been classified as YOS 10087-1. The time that YOS 10087 came into existence is unknown, and why it has an unseen entity haunting the item. Addendum 10087-1. The item was discovered in an apartment complex where a single father and his one son used to reside in. It seemed too big to fit in one of the apartment rooms, and was taken inside 11 for examination. Addendum 10087-2. Multiple test logs were planned to test YOS 10087's abilities. Test 1. AD class, numbered 5786, went in the item and remained there for half hours, until being removed from the interior. Test 2. Traces of YOS 320-2 were placed inside the item and it seems like the entity reacts to all matter entering the interior, so it was attacked and immediately dissolved within the item. Test 3. A single YOS 588 member entered the item and died 3 hours later. The entity seems to come out less often because of detecting less sentience from the instance, so it slowly reacted. Test 4. YOS 1590 was placed into the item and remained there for 2.5 minutes, until attacked 3 minutes later. It remained inactive for 4.5 hours due to the damage it sustained. Note:
I think that's enough we need to know about YOS 10087, as there is no need to keep sending random things inside it, so for now we focus less on the item until something else happens with it.
Item number: YOS 2003. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 2003 is to be secured within a fence of barbed wire, and with 4 smaller buildings within each edge of the fence. Testing must be approved by Level 3 staff members and entry must be attempted. When the subject exits YOS 2003, they must be in the interviewing room for any experiences encountered. Description: YOS 2003 is a building that consists of 20 houses on top of one another, with separate appearances and shape. Upon all of these houses, the building is 185 meters tall and has 50 floors in total. When entered, the subject will be transported into a separate dimension, within the interior of the building. The subject will explore the interior and go up to another floor if enough is seen. Subjects reported that humanoid entities reside within YOS 2003. The entities can somewhat be docile, but will be hostile if it sees an appropriate target. These entities are designated as YOS 2003-2. YOS 2003-2 members are made up from mostly sand and granite, but can also be made up from iron or steel, and rarely seen composed of gold and silver. They are seen in higher levels of YOS 2003 and can proceed to other floors upwards or downwards. Once the final floor of YOS 2003 is reached, there is an orb of energy in the center of the room, and it is really bright. The orb reproduces entities of YOS 2003-2 by using some type of force, and makes up matter, energy and sentience to the specimen, and finally creates a member randomly. Addendum 2003-1. D6609 was placed inside the building and proceeded to the rooms.
Okay, this doesn't seem too bad.
Alright, feel free to go to the next floor if you're ready.
D6609 goes to the next floor 1 minute later.
Is this supposed to be a choir room?
I suggest not questioning what you see and keep proceeding.
D6609 goes to the next 2 floors. One looks like a living room, and the next looks like a bathroom.
I don't think I'm getting anywhere, Doctor. There doesn't seem to be. What is that?
Please describe what you see.
It's like a person made out of a substance, like granite or something.
Does it see you?
Not yet. I would think he's bad news though. I'm going to the next floor.
He proceeds through more floors seeing more than one member of YOS 2003-2 until reaching the last floor.
Oh God, it's so bright. What is this?
What do you see?
I don't know, it's just so bright. Oh shit, I better get out of here.
D6609 quickly descends the floors all the way to the exit, while attracting more hostile YOS 2003-2 specimens. D6609 was seen fully out of YOS 2003.
Come on, let's take you to the infirmary.
Thank you, Doctor.
Closing statement. YOS 2003-2 seems to be incapable of exiting the dimension, and allows the survivor to escape freely. More tests with YOS 2003 are not planned at this time. Item number: YOS 872. Object Class: Safe. Containment Procedures: the entire gallon of YOS 872 must remain in a 35-meter hole, and the hole must be made of indestructible material. No other is to attempt entering the item. If failing to do so, the subject must be removed and sent to medical care. Samples are to only be taken with permission. Description: YOS 872 is a highly acidic liquid that resembles normal water. Its full mass is 760 gallons, and with a pressure of 123 ounces. YOS 872 affects nearby organisms that come into physical contact with it. It will cause a sensation of burning, and cause pain to the organism. It will burn through the entire mass of the organism until no traces of it can be found. YOS 872's pressure will increase the burning sensation to the organism and consume at a much faster rate. Addendum 872-1. YOS 872 was discovered in a spa within a private home, in which a human once lived here. The water was physically touched and the tub was completely drained out of it. It was taken to Site 18 for testing. Addendum 872-2. A large sample from YOS 872 was taken and poured into an indestructible cup. D22-896 was instructed to drink the liquid. He immediately died when the liquid gained contact with his tissue. Addendum 872-3. A little sample was taken from YOS 872 and was poured into a smaller cup. D45-592 was instructed to drink the liquid. No effect was present inside her body. Addendum 872-4. An indestructible toy was dropped into the liquid and sank below 6 feet. A camera was placed inside it to test the toy's durability. The toy sank to the bottom for 4 hours, until rising up to the surface. The toy was not damaged upon recovery. Addendum 872-5. A cup was filled with YOS 872, and it was poured onto an instance of YOS 588. It died minutes later. Addendum 872-6. YOS 872 is currently being held from testing in the near future, until another ability is noticed within it. Item Number: YOS 5240. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 5240-1 is to be kept in a 5 meter by 5 meter room and must be inactive at all times and not be allowed to be replugged, unless for testing purposes. If the item is plugged and a subject is inside, the room must be locked with bulletproof doors. YOS 5240-2 must be immediately terminated by using a gaseous substance that insanity poisons and kills it. If YOS 5240-2 is capable of escaping the room, it must be found and terminated immediately. Description: YOS 5240 consists of 2 components. YOS 5240-1 is an old-school television made up of wood, and measures 5 meters tall. It has a small cord on its rear and it is capable of running a single TV show on its own accord when plugged. The show shows a potentially unseen old episode of the old-school show Mickey Mouse. It was assumed to be made in the 1930s and is completely devoid of color. The episode shows the Walt Disney mascot Mickey Mouse walking through an abandoned town with an empty expression. The audio in the background was distorted and was produced by a piano. Then the audio cuts and the scene cuts to black for several minutes until coming back up still showing the same scene, then audio of a man and woman screaming seemingly in pain and agony, and the scene starting changing dramatically. The town was destroyed and burning, and Mickey's face began warping, with his smile stretching upwards and his eyes rolling down to his chin. This scene continued on for several minutes before ending the episode. Then a Russian text message appeared. Translation: "The sights of hell brings its viewers back in." Then a loud sound erupts in the TV, which resulted in an entity exiting out of it resembling Mickey, designated as YOS 5240-2. YOS 5240-2 is a humanoid entity that resembles the character Mickey Mouse, but with his 1920s appearance. It shows an expression of insanity and a little bit of depression. The entity is extremely hostile to any living thing it comes into contact with, and will use a gun or knife to attack and kill the victim. It shows high strength and is somewhat capable of breaking steel or bulletproof structures. YOS 5240-2 can easily be terminated via firearms, and will reanimate once the TV is active again. The creation of the episode is unknown, and the publisher of the episode is yet to be found. Addendum 5240. YOS 5240-2 can often, at times, encounter other entities within Site 15, such as YOS 345 and YOS 1053, and was possibly terminated by them once it escaped its chamber. Item number: YOS 8659. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: anytime YOS 8659 appears during the night must be reported immediately. YOS 8659 is to be subdued within the victim's house, and must immediately get its anal cavity plugged and forcefully removed from the victim's house. At this time, the containment of YOS 8659 is difficult at this time. Description: YOS 8659 is a humanoid entity measuring 5 feet tall. It has a dark skin tone and is incapable of moving on 2 legs, although on rare occasions it does, and appears to lack eyes. It doesn't wear clothing, and will sometimes wear a leather pair of pants if it wants to. YOS 8659 seems to target humans who are in the ages of 5 to 12, and will go after its target and kill the human. YOS 8659 prefers to hunt down humans during the night, and sneak into people's homes to attack young humans. In the daytime, the sun seems to cause damage to its skin, and will evacuate in a cave or another shaded area. YOS 8659 only lets its entire body be exposed when it kills a young subject. It will only eat parts of the victim, and leave the rest to rot away. After its consumption, it will start emitting flatulent sounds and defecate. After the process is complete, it will eat the fecal waste as a second food source. YOS 8659 likes to hide in dark areas. If a light source is upon it, it will be startled and retreat to the darkness. YOS 8659 can also manifest underneath the victim's bed, upon close proximity. YOS 8659's hideout is not detectable by any means, as it hides its place from witnesses. Addendum: the Foundation got attention when a bunch of children were killed from unknown force or an unknown person. The Foundation tried to track it down during daytime, but it was impossible. At night, however, it was detectable. Unfortunately, due to its ability to manifest elsewhere, containment is quite difficult. Addendum 2. A live human child was placed into one of the bedrooms and waited for YOS 8659 to manifest. It appeared 2 hours later. MTF Unit 73 went into the room and tried to subdue the entity. Suddenly, YOS 8659 released a huge flatulence gas and large amounts of defecation as a way for self-defense. The gas was strong enough to kill anything around it, so Unit 73 members and the tested child were terminated in the process. Item number: YOS 951. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 951 is to be kept in a 8-meter containment cell, with the exterior being sheltered with 5-meter thick bulletproof glass. The item is placed on a wooden table and occupied with a wooden chair for testing purposes only. Only one D-class subject is allowed to enter the cell at any time with permission from staff. Prior to Incident 951-1, the subject must remain in the cell less than 3 minutes. Description: YOS 951 is a 10-meter wide cordless computer with an infinite battery supply, and occupied with a PC machine that is always active. The screen shows a pink background with a face that is reminiscent of a female, with blue eyes and red lips, but lacking any other parts of the face. YOS 951 shows signs of sentience, and interacts with human subjects frequently. However, whenever the object shows no more interest in interacting with the human subject, it will push its red lips out of the monitor and kiss the subject, eventually killing it. It will then enter a dormant state or attempt to attack other subjects it senses. YOS 951 can speak in English, although in feminine AI language, and will communicate with the subject for 2 to 3 minutes. The application of the monitor is referred to as kiss.exe. The software cannot close by any attempt, as the object's sentience might have removed the close button and forces itself to remain on the screen in full screen. Addendum: YOS 951 was discovered in a city apparently still active. It was taken to Site 09 for examination. Incident 951-1. D7701 was placed into YOS 951's cell, and interacted with it for 3 minutes. The object terminated the subject, and out of nowhere, pushed its lips onto the glass and broke it, allowing it to access the exterior of the area. It terminated 35 members in Site 09, until one of the members cut off the stretched lips, making YOS 951 inactive for 9 days. The object was placed within the bulletproof glass until the 9-day period was up. Item number: YOS 2565. Object class: Keter, formerly Euclid. Containment procedures: YOS 2565 is uncontainable by any means. Level 4 staff are to track the platform that YOS 2565 currently resides in, and deter civilians to save the character by closing the application itself. Upon no means are instances of YOS 2565 to enter their demonic state, the application is to be closed and stayed off for 4 to 5 hours. Description: YOS 2565 are a group of humanoid demonic figures that have the ability to transport to different sources that revolves around the platform Gacha Life. They resemble a human female with quite pale skin, dark eyes with a red glow, dark hair with cat ears, a maid outfit, dark cat paws, a dark tail, and 2 rows of bat wings with a wingspan of 5 meters. They also hold a weapon with unknown make. YOS 2565 instances disguise themselves as a different person cosplaying as a pink cat, with pink hair, a tail, and paws. They also possess sharp fangs that resemble the felines. Instances show signs of extreme love when they gain contact with a character within the platform, and often at times call them senpai. At this moment, the character is always sentient and will react in 2 ways. The character allows the instance to hang out and love them for long periods of time. Or the character denies the instance's love and tries to get away from it. The instance doesn't seem to show love at all, it seems to be obsessed with the character. If the character denies its obsession with it, it will beg them to love them back, and will pretend to cry so it would convince them to hang out. After these plans don't work, it would show anger and transform into its true shape and become hostile to the character who denied it, and the character has 3 choices. The character has a chance to love them back, which makes them turn back into their disguise and show excitement. The instance kills the character and the character will be unusable at any attempt, and the character will convince the creator to close the platform and leave it off for 4 to 5 hours. Instances of YOS 2565 have the ability to transport the subject into the platform and trap them for long periods of time. The instances have a name that is normally hidden above them that reads Abby Lamington. Researchers take that name and find the person with that particular name, and it was basically a 20-year-old light-skinned human female that seemed to be missing for 2 years. Abby and YOS 2565 instances have a connection between that name, due to the behavior of both of them. In Abby's article, it says,
Abby is a 20-year-old woman who seems to love everybody, and it got so strong that it became an obsession, and is weirded out by many people. She would constantly beg people to be with her for days, and people were sick with her. The woman was missing for 2 years during April 2021. The police went into her home to investigate. They went into her room and checked on her phone that seems to be on a platform called Gacha Life. They didn't see her anywhere and left the house, and she remains missing for a while.
The reading in the article might have meant that Abby was transported into the platform itself and cannot seem to get out. But she decided to remain in the game for the rest of her life, and somehow managed to transform into a demonic entity, being able to disguise herself and make multiple identical replicas of herself, while still having her original personality intact, and will force people inside it to trap them until they love her back and hang out with her. Instances of YOS 2565 are called Uwu-cats, meaning that the person has a strong desire to love the person constantly. YOS 2565 can speak full sentences in English, but at some time will vocalize sounds similar to a feline. Addendum: YOS 2565 was discovered when people go missing, and tracks their location, which is the platform Gacha Life they currently reside in. They kept watch of the platform to see any subjects entering it, and went to warn people not to open the platform until they contained them. Addendum 2. Dr. Frank volunteered to enter the game to contain YOS 2565, and remain there for years to keep track of her. They speak in text form.
Hello there.
Senpai.
Whoa, calm down, I need you to come with me.
I'll do anything for you, Senpai.
Alright, come on.
It's assumed that Frank did the job and kept one of them, while there are still a bunch of them out there. YOS 2565 is reclassified as Keter since there is still more roaming in and haunting the game. Testing logs. Multiple tests were planned for the staff entering and interacting with YOS 2565 directly. Here are the tests. Test 1. Dr. Edward went inside the platform and interacted with an instance. He didn't seem to like her behavior and also seemed to think she was taking love too seriously. He denied all of his requests and was terminated shortly after. Test 2. Dr. Larry entered the platform and interacted with YOS 2565. He reacted the same way as Edward, and ran away from her, as he denied. He also was terminated by the entity. Test 3. Jonathan volunteered to enter the platform and directly interacted with the entity. He accepted and hung out with her for days and decided to remain in the platform to keep her in that server to prevent her from transporting. Test 4. Jake volunteered to enter the platform to interact with a YOS 2565 instance. He uses his kindness to her and starts to excite the instance so much that Jake allowed her to kiss him, same as Jonathan. He also resides in the platform for days. Audio log. On July 21, 2022, there was a brief audio pickup from one of the surveillance. The instance and the subject was talking to each other in text form.
Hello, Senpai.
Hello, I would like to hang out with you.
Oh, you 100% can hang out with me.
Alright, come with me.
Whatever you say, Senpai.
At this time there are 700 or more instances of YOS 2565 inhabiting the platform at this moment. They are uncontainable by any means. Item number. YOS 310. Object class. Euclid. Containment procedures. The area, designated as Containment Area B1, is to be blocked by approaching civilians. Anyone who tries to reside in the area is to be halted and remind them to stay away from the area. Once a week, YOS 310 is to be checked out outside the interior of the area, and any activity shown from YOS 310 is to be reported immediately. No one is to make contact with YOS 310 for more than 15 minutes. The timing must be acquired by test subjects, D-class personnel, and researchers. When the timing reaches its endpoint, personnel are to leave the area no more than 3 minutes. If a subject remains in the interior with YOS 310 for more than 3 minutes, the exterior must be protected at all times until the activation of YOS 310 reaches its end. Personnel are requested to not be within YOS 310's proximity until its activation ends, or personnel are to be terminated when YOS 310's activation becomes strong. Once the activation ends, personnel who survived have to evacuate and must be sent to a mental watchover facility near Containment Area B1, and personnel who didn't survive must have their remains incinerated within a furnace in the mental watchover facility. Description: YOS 310, in appearance, is a presumed humanoid entity made up of gaseous matter. Its appearance appears to be shadowed, and is constantly ejecting some sort of darkened gas that doesn't seem to affect the subject within close proximity. YOS 310 appears to be hostile towards any human subject it comes into contact with. If the subject reaches its target, it will release a huge cloud of black smoke that spreads on a 2-mile radius that is meant to cover up its attack. Due to its darkness, human beings cannot see the attack it's doing to the victim, and on rare occasions, can suffer mild blindness. When the smoke clears, the subject will be inert, and die within 2 minutes. YOS 310 will then enter a dormant state that is timed between 4 to 13 hours. Randomly, YOS 310 is capable of changing its shape and taking the form of any human being, although it is always unaware what human being it is taking the form of. Its most common form is a Caucasian human female, probably 25 years of age, and wears a suit that is mostly worn when going to a beach, colored into a dark shade of blue, and possesses dark brown long hair, sometimes black. YOS 310, when it took the form of the woman, begins acting like a normal human, and will act like one in the beach, specifically Containment Area B1 it currently resides in. If it comes into contact with a human subject, it will try to convince the subject to hang out with it. If successful, it will let the subject hang out with it for more than 15 minutes. After the limit of time is reached, it will change back to its original form, and terminate the subject while releasing a large cloud of black smoke in order to prevent other humans from viewing or protecting the victim within its proximity. YOS 310 will repeat this process by entering a dormant state for 4 to 13 hours, and then take the form of the woman once again until finding another human. When YOS 310 takes this form, it can speak in clear complete sentences, identified as English, in a feminine tone, although it is incapable of speech when in its original form. See Addendum 310-2. YOS 310 has not been observed taking other forms other than a beach woman, almost like it prefers taking the form of a woman, because human males will be easier to control, and females will most likely hang out with it.
Note: it seems that the subject are not trying to deny YOS 310's request. There could be a possibility that the anomaly takes over the brain of the subjects and force them to hang out with it. I would recommend that we not gain contact with YOS 310 constantly, and it must be fed once every 5 days.
Addendum 310-1. YOS 310 was discovered when people mysteriously disappeared in a specific beach. MTF Unit 68 went to investigate, until they found an empty beach with a shadow-type figure inhabiting it. When they saw it, they immediately called the containment team and secured it. They surrounded the beach originally with a barbed wire fence, but was immediately replaced with an airtight steel wall. See Incident 310. Addendum 310-2. Dr. went into the area and was requested to try to talk to YOS 310 and leave within 15 minutes.
Hello YOS 310.
Whoa, where did you get that name?
We don't know your actual name, so we came up with it.
Well, I don't like that. Call me Jessica.
Okay Jessica. I have a few questions for you.
Ask me whatever you like.
We saw you turn into a shadowy figure and we assume that you kill people, is that true?
I don't know what you're talking about, sweetie.
Giggles softly.
I just greet them with a hug, that's all.
But when the smoke cleared, the person was torn to bits, and didn't seem to show any movement.
I guess you can say I got a little carried away.
Giggles softly again.
I guess I have anger problems.
Yeah, I guess you can say that, but you do seem hostile when you approach them, but I won't question it any further.
I just need to check my emotions.
Well, I got to go now. Thanks for bringing me here.
Alright, bye.
Closing statement. Dr. returned back to the exterior without incident, and managed to get out in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. It seems that YOS 310 was grateful that it allowed Dr. to leave, and was not controlling him when they communicated. Incident 310. AD Class 8705, went in the area and interacted with YOS 310 for more than 15 minutes. The subject then changed its form and attacked the D class. The large cloud of black smoke covered everything within a 2-mile radius. This smoke caused mild blindness to personnel nearby, and most of the civilians nearby in a close city. After the D class was terminated, the fence was replaced with an airtight steel wall that surrounds the beach to hopefully block the smoke from spreading, except for the back of the beach that reaches the ocean. It is unknown if the smoke affects marine animals as well. Addendum 310-3. Dr. Derick requested that YOS 310 will need to interact with other passive YOS anomalies, like YOS 1163, YOS 432, YOS 1442, and YOS 2097, but this was denied. Item Number: YOS 5023. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: due to its nature, YOS 5023 cannot be contained. Any time that YOS 5023 will manifest in a random area, nearby civilians are to be warned and stay away from the area it will appear in. Termination of YOS 5023 is ongoing. Description: YOS 5023 is a powerful whirlwind. It stretches up 17 meters high from the ground, and 12 meters wide by speed. It is enveloped in flames upon manifesting, and will burn anything it makes contact with. It has been responsible for forest fires, and destruction of property, and will spontaneously manifest within 2 to 5 days. Due to its nature, containment is impossible, and Foundation staff are to warn civilians to retreat from the area. YOS 5023 will appear upon seeing weather conditions and technology use. It is currently unknown why YOS 5023 appears with flames enveloping it. It is thought to have acquired some fire near a source of fire, or the lightning caused the funnel cloud to combust into flames. Addendum 5023-1 YOS 5023 brought the Foundation's attention when a certain house was destroyed and has been completely enveloped in flames. The news had reported that a tornado that seemed to be burning tore down and burnt their buildings down with its speed. When the Foundation found out about its nature, the adding of amnestics is not to be provided. Item number: YOS 103. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 103 is to remain in a 135-meter container with the ceiling not needed in order for it to completely fit in the cell as Site-96. The subject must be incapacitated when it shows hostility, and provided with recently deceased organisms to put in its dormant state at all times. No one is to enter the container when YOS 103 is feeding on the organisms, and should wait for 2 to 3 hours for it to finish. If its feast is complete, the entity is allowed to be studied. Description: YOS 103 is a large potentially sentient entity that takes the appearance of a common toilet found in bathrooms/restrooms. It is 65 feet tall, and its beak is 98 meters wide. It has an electrical sense of sight, and is shown displaying a robotic type of eyes that allows it to see its surroundings. On the edges of the lid of the toilet entity is a row of razor-sharp teeth. They can easily tear through an organism's flesh and also are capable of tearing them in half. It also has elastic limbs that function as arms and legs. Inside the entity, there doesn't seem to be any water that is always present in toilets. Instead, an acid, identified as gastric acid, is present inside YOS 103. Subject is also very hostile, and will go after its specified victim and use every part of its body to terminate them. It will use its enlarged foot to crush them to death, pick them up and devour them with its teeth, and simply pour gastric acid on them until it completely strips away all of the victim's flesh. The subject will be in its dormant state when a source of meat from recently deceased organisms is eaten when present. The subject can be easily incapacitated. It feels harm when a subject uses the flusher to push back the gastric acid, which causes harm to YOS 103, and it will eventually lose consciousness. It will regain consciousness within a minimum of 3 to 10 hours. Addendum: due to its size, testing is not to be attempted. Item number: YOS 552. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: YOS 552 is to be within an 8-meter humanoid cell on all 4 sides. If she attempts to escape the cell, she must be incapacitated immediately and return back to the area. She must be provided with a rather decorated adult-like room. The room must require a king-sized bed with a flower-patterned bedsheet, with cotton pillows, and a wooden bed frame. A wooden closet that keeps additional clothing that must look the same all the time. A small bathroom with a sink and shower, and also must come with lotion and hairspray. A dresser with a mirror on top, and must be accompanied with multiple perfume containers that must be acceptable to her, a eyelash comb and a hairbrush. And must be accompanied by pink lipsticks, and even kiss of death lipsticks, later designated as YOS 321 instances, if necessary. She must be given food within 4 to 8 hours a day. YOS 552 is to be interviewed with caution, and personnel should not make eye contact with her for more than 6 minutes. Her interaction with other YOS subjects must be limited between 6 to 10 hours. Description: YOS 552 is a female humanoid that stands at 1.5 meters tall. She is also 5 feet tall. She possesses yellowish skin, with purple hair with a pink glowing halo and pink horns on it. She has pink eyes with eyelashes that measure 9 millimeters long, and with pink eyebrows, a pink mole and pinkish lips. She wears a green outfit that somewhat resembles a flapper dress, and a sweater, but she is mostly seen with her green cloth covering almost near her chest and most of her breasts, and with strings attached to the torso part of the cloth that covers most of her lower part of her arms. She also wears blue gloves and shoes, and stitched a pink bow tie on the upper central part of her dress. YOS 552 is capable of speech, but commonly prefers not to speak unless she finds something appeasing to her, or if she is annoyed by something distracting her from her goals. YOS 552's behavior depends on her actions she does when eye contact with an organism or object is made to her. She can be seen as kind of nice, and is often cooperative with other subjects she doesn't find as a victim. It is seen that YOS 229 and YOS 552 do not seem to despise each other, and kind of see each other as partners or siblings. See Addendum 552-2. She can be seen as manipulative, and often sees subjects as appeasing to her, and will try to interact with them to her benefit. If eye contact is made, she will leap to the subject, now turned victim, and kiss the victim with skin contact in a random part of the body, and will cause each vital organ within the subject to cease functioning, presumably killing them. YOS 552 will repeat this action if she finds a suitable subject she finds acquirable. Addendum 552-1. Full exploration for YOS 552's containment. June 13, 1987. Subject's discovery. YOS 552 was found within a building in Nevada called Headquarters. Foundation gained attention when news anchor explained to civilians that there were multiple disappearances within Headquarters, and they should proceed with caution and try not to go near the location. The Foundation proceeded to investigate into the place and reminded the workers in the building to exit for the investigation planned to prevent further deaths. Agents went to investigate certain rooms of the workplace to find the attacker that is believed to still reside in the building. An audio log was picked up from Agent and Dr. following the arrival to the building. Begin log.
Doctor, this is Agent speaking. I am currently within Headquarters.
Copy. Now proceed on, and remind me if you see something in the building.
He proceeds to explore the first floor of the building. After not finding anything out of the ordinary, he proceeds to the next floor.
Well, there was nothing unusual on that floor. Let's check on the second floor.
On the second floor. Note: the audio was corrupted following the second floor by unknown means. Foundation staff are still figuring out how this happened. Agent proceeded to the third floor. Audio of a feminine voice heard in the distance.
Doctor, I think I hear someone in the distance.
Well, go and find the source to make sure it's the attacker.
Okay, I think it's 2 floors up, so I'll go up then.
He goes up to floor 5, and tracks the source of the voice, until the voice increased in volume, leading to one of the business rooms. He enters.
Oh, I didn't expect anyone to come anytime soon.
Hello, ma'am. I just want to ask a few questions.
Sure, tell me.
I just want to know if you heard the loud noises that I've heard on other floors?
I wish I did, but the hair is preventing me from hearing something.
I don't think that's the case, as you can still respond to my questions due to you still hearing me.
Okay, I did hear something, but I don't know what that was.
Well, there was.
Maybe you've misheard that.
I'm pretty sure I've heard. And all that, so I think it might be coming from this floor.
Well, what if I told you that I was the one who caused all that to happen?
What?
3 hours later.
Agent, you still there? Don't tell me he's terminated. Man, this is some dangerous folk, isn't it? Let's just barge in there in groups.
End log. June 14, 1987. Containment attempt. MTF Unit 91 entered the building to try to track the signal of Agent's location. They went to the 5th floor and found a room Agent was within. He was found dead in one of the business rooms. One of the members outside the room has noticed that the tracker seems to track some sort of threat. They ready their weapons to track down the supposed threat. It was a female human, although out of the ordinary. She began to leap to one of the members and terminated one of them. One of them tranquilized her to stop her attacking instinct. She was safely recovered in Site 12 for testing and examination. The subject was given a new designation, YOS 552. Addendum 552-2. YOS 552 was sent to interact with other YOS subjects. One of them was within YOS 229 cell, and something unusual happened. They do not show signs of hostility towards each other. Instead, they communicated with each other for about 7 hours until leaving each other. It is unknown if they became friends after that. Addendum 552-3. YOS 552 claims to have obtained these types of lipsticks by simply buying them from an unknown pawn shop. The shop is currently being tracked down. Item number: YOS 1205. Object class: safe. Containment procedures: the object must be within a steel safe that must require a 5-digit passcode. And the safe must be opened for testing purposes or for examination. If the object is not under examination, no one is to collect it without permission of a Level 3 member. Testing with D-Class personnel must be cautioned and not cause death to the subject. Description: YOS 1205 appears to be a translucent stone, measuring that similar to a human heart, 12 centimeters or 5 inches, but possesses a red hue. The stone seems to be made from regular stone, and some organic matter, but most of it is human blood, and some crystalline matter. It possesses a unique effect when placed into a human or animal. If the object is placed into the body of the subject, it will show some movement similar to a regular heart, and will form some blood veins for the new blood to flow through, and will function as a second heart without any health problems from subjects. If the object is surgically removed from the subject, there is a 5 to 100% chance that the subject will either remain alive or dead, and the object will cease all of its original properties. Addendum 01. YOS 1205 was recovered from a doctor in a hospital of. When the human male seemed to suffer from something inside his stomach, and the stone was surgically removed, the doctor thought it was a oversized kidney stone, but it was something entirely different as it's bigger than a regular kidney stone. The object was taken to the Foundation by agents and given the doctor and the patient amnestics. Addendum 02. Tests with living subjects are planned for YOS 1205. Test 1. D7561, age 26, 6 feet. Results: subject died minutes later after removal of the item. Test 2. A female white-tailed deer, Odoricoileus virginianus. Results: subject remained alive after removal of item. Test 3. A male wild boar, Zeus scrofa. Results: subject lived for a total of 3 hours, before perishing soon after. Item number: YOS 507. Object class: Euclid. Containment procedures: YOS 507 is to be kept within a 6-meter humanoid cell on all 4 sides. Inner windows must be soundproof to prevent an effect from it. Communications with YOS 507 must be limited no more than 3 minutes, and personnel are to immediately leave the cell after. Only personnel with Level 4 clearance are to interact with YOS 507 at any time. Personnel who are affected are to be placed in quarantine for 4 to 6 hours. Description: YOS 507 is a humanoid entity, with a rather flat face, colored yellow, with purple fur on its forehead, the rest of its body, and the back of its head, with 1.5-meter horns facing down. It also wears purple boots, with a pink bow tie on its torso. It has a mouth that can open up at a 90-degree angle, and functions similar to a puppet, and also shows no teeth. YOS 507 has confirmed that his rather small eyes make it difficult for it to see its surrounding environment, and often doesn't move at a certain amount of time. YOS 507 is also capable of speech, and it often likes to speak in order to keep it company, but he mostly prefers to speak with other people or sometimes animals. But if a person interacts or talks with YOS 507 for more than 3 minutes, they will keep talking with it non-stop, and will stop if their mouth starts aching or becomes tired. YOS 507 shows enjoyment when it talks with others, and will keep talking to others or himself, and show no signs of his mouth aching or becoming tired. Addendum 507-1. YOS 507's discovery. A woman named started bringing attention to the Foundation when she saw a rather communicative creature that seems to be enjoying talking to her. The woman was questioned and given amnestics, and the creature was taken to Site 71 for testing. Addendum 507-2. Interacting with YOS 507. AD class numbered 6701 went into YOS 507's cell and was requested to talk with it for more than 3 minutes. Audio was captured following this interaction. Begin log.
Hello.
Hello boy, how are you?
I don't even know at this point.
Well, I know what'll cheer you up. Communication. I've just been a good little boy, and then, I somehow ended up here.
I agree, I don't know why I'm here.
Well, do you see those folks over there? Who are they?
I'm afraid I can't tell you.
Okay then, well, as I was saying.
As 3 minutes passed, the D-Class was talking to YOS 507 non-stop, and he was eventually taken out from the cell and quarantined. End log. Addendum 507-3. The truth. Dr. went to talk with YOS 507. Begin log.
Hello 507.
Wait, you a doctor?
Maybe.
Okay, whatever.
Anyways, I need to tell you something. Why do you like talking so much?
Because it's my passion, man. I like doing things like this.
What made you start liking to talk?
Well, when I opened my mouth, a noise came out, and I like noises, so I kept making noises like these.
Well, everyone makes noises, including nature, and animals alike.
Did you just come here just to tell me that?
No, I still have more to talk about. When did you meet this girl?
You mean? I like her voice. She feeds me with joy, and I like it a lot.
That's what leads me to my next question. Why do you let people keep talking to you?
Because I like to feed on it, because I am hungry.
Okay then, I guess that's all I need from you.
Come back whenever you like.
End log. Closing statement. Dr. came out in less than 3 minutes, and there was no need for quarantine after this. Additional notes for description. YOS 507 seems to feed on people's voices by speech, and claims he allows people to keep talking to it because it was hungry. Item number. YOS 499. Object class. Keter. Containment procedures. The inner chamber must require multiple walls from inner to outer to effectively contain YOS 499. The walls must not be thinner than 8 meters thick. If it is not thicker by 8 meters, it must be replaced with a new wall with the correct thickness of the wall. Direct contact with YOS 499 must not be attempted, and the walls must be strong enough to prevent the entity's properties from taking effect. YOS 499 must be kept at a dormant state at all times, and its hostile state must not be provoked. Description. YOS 499 appears to be a vaguely shaped humanoid entity that appears to barely take the shape of a canine, but no identifiable features can be seen, due to the moving structure that is present on its mass. The structure present on its mass appears to be standard TV static that is always kept silent at all times, and is constantly moving within YOS 499. YOS 499 can vocalize, but will always sound like regular TV static. This is used for its behavior. When the static noise is low, it is dormant. When the noise is loud, it is hostile. YOS 499 is normally docile or dormant when a threat is not found. This applies to nearby organisms, although it will be hostile if an aggressor tries to attack him or it sees it as a threat. YOS 499 will attack by connecting its mass to the victim, causing pain to them. It will keep doing this until the subject significantly disappears, possibly killing them. Where they go is unknown. Testing is not to be attempted. Item number YOS 229. Object Class Keter. Containment Procedures. YOS 229 is to be kept within an indestructible wall made of steel that must be connected to the floor at all times. It must be strong enough to prevent YOS 229's abilities from taking effect to it. No contact with YOS 229 must be attempted, and the cell must be completely locked down if contact is made. YOS 229 must be observed for its apparent behavioral changes. If its eyes appear white, the cell must be in lockdown. If its eyes turn back to a dark red, the cell is allowed to be unlocked. Description: YOS 229 is a humanoid that resembles a middle-aged man, but its entire shape appears red in color, but in different shades. Its cap, head, face, hair, and clothing appears to be covered in red, with the exception of the eyes, even though they appear red, but can turn into a bright white if an organism is within its proximity. When its eyes grow white when a subject is present, it will unlock its anomalous properties. It will pick up the victim with its hands, apparently using telekinesis to deal harm. It will repeatedly bang the victim with any surroundings that can deal harm to them if strong force is made to it. It can also tear the victim apart if it wants to. If the subject is killed, it will return to its inactive state. Addendum 229-1. YOS 229 was discovered when a human male is killed within his house. The subject has been found and taken to Site 12 for examination. Addendum 229-2. YOS 229 was in its cell. When YOS 552 entered its cell, it didn't go into its active state and didn't attempt to harm her. They were simply communicative, before YOS 552 left the cell. Item number YOS 728. Object Class Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 728 is to be kept within a humanoid cell of 9 meters cubed. Observation is to be limited to make sure it's within the cell at all times. No one is to make contact with YOS 728 in a 0.5-mile radius. If it occurs, the area is to be locked until the subject is terminated. Anytime that YOS 728 sends subjects to its location must be tracked and immediately removed. YOS 728 is to be tranquilized if necessary. Description: YOS 728 is a humanoid entity with devil features. It is colorful with purple, yellow, pink, and blue features. It has a mouth that can stretch to 1.5 meters long, and uses it to vocalize a sound similar to that used in a lullaby. But subjects will report that they feel uneasy upon hearing it, and often at times try to stay away from it. Often at times, it emits those sounds when it's dormant, but emits it loudly when it's hostile. When it's hostile, it will deal harm to the subject, and also use its anomalous abilities to lift up the subject and deal harm that way. YOS 728 rarely sends its victims to its dimension, now designated as YOS 728-M, and apparently traps them there without any chance to escape, and will eventually kill them within 3 hours, by closing in the walls or killing them itself. Despite its behavior, it can rarely appear passive to other subjects when it doesn't see them as a victim. This applies to other YOS subjects. Addendum 728-1. YOS 728-M was explored by a D-Class, D-8492, and was acquired with a walkie-talkie, and weapons if necessary. D-8492 was requested to explore the area before the 3-hour period is up. When the subject explores, the area seems like a maze. It's dark, molded, and devoid of life. He reports that he heard strange sounds echoing throughout the area. After 3 hours, he was terminated by the walls closing in and the Foundation lost signal.
Level 3 273 clearance only.
Item number YOS 273. Object Class Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 273 is being kept in a 4 meter by 4 meter by 4 meter containment room. The walls must be hard and thickened in order to prevent it from piercing through it easily. Testing must be cautioned when dealing with YOS 273, and no attempts of communicating with it should be attempted. No one should be within the cell for long periods of time, and food should be served to YOS 273 for more than 2 hours. Description: YOS 273 is a canine humanoid, with sharp edges of fur, razor-sharp teeth, and clothing, fur-colored purple, face-colored yellow, overalls colored green, and gloves, shoes, and nose-colored blue. YOS 273 seems to possess the behavior of a random wild animal, although it hisses like a cat when provoked, and will attack anyone who attempts to attack or harm it in any way, or when it sees them as a threat. It possesses sharp claws piercing its gloves and will use them for self-defense or for aggressive action. It is reasonably easy to incapacitate, as tranquilizer darts seem to cause a huge effect on it. Addendum 273-1. YOS 273 was discovered near Site 44, and personnel are to retrieve it by any means necessary. MTF Unit 58 went outside the facility in order to retrieve the entity. The entity was provoked, and instead of just terminating the entity was easily incapacitated by using tranquilizer darts. The entity was brought inside Site 44 for further testing. Addendum 273-2. On surveillance footage, YOS 273 and YOS 082 breached containment and eventually encountered each other. They ruthlessly attacked each other, causing them multiple injuries, until MTF Unit 62 tranquilizers both of them and was placed back into containment. Both entities recovered after 5 weeks. Item number: YOS 092. Object Class: Safe. Containment Procedures: Drones are to be sent out to look after YOS 092, and they are to be returned within 2 to 4 hours. About 200 personnel are to board YOS 092 and look over any type of behavior that YOS 092 experienced. Anytime that YOS 092 reaches a nearby area of land, personnel are to control YOS 092 by using its wheel to prevent it from colliding with them. Description: YOS 092 appears to be an ordinary MSC Seascape cruise ship. It is 339 meters, 1,112.2 feet, and 74 meters, 242 feet, 9 inches. Its speeds are greater at 100 knots, or 115.08 miles per hour, but its speed often increases or decreases within 5 to 6 minutes. It appears to be organic in nature, as there appears to be organs similar to humans, as seen with X-rays. Even though it lacks any sensory organs, it still is aware of its surroundings, and is capable of smelling and feeling anything nearby. It is later found with a nervous system. Despite its awareness, it often struggles trying to not collide with any areas of land, and it needs assistance from any humans to help it avoid any of them. It doesn't show any signs of hostility, and appears to be grateful for humans landing on it, and it allows any Foundation personnel to reside within it as part of security. Despite its passive nature, it still needs to remain secret from other civilizations, and it must reside in parts of the ocean at all times: Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, and Southern Ocean. Addendum 092-1. YOS 092 was discovered when no human beings were on it, yet it's still moving across the oceans. Personnel are required to reside within it, and others are to look after it with drones within 2 to 4 hours. If it's nearby any areas of land, they are to help it avoid collisions with them. Addendum 092-2. Personnel have later found some large organs underneath its surface, and also a nervous system. It's presumed sentient due to this, and they saw that it moves on its own accord, and seems aware of its surroundings. Further research must be conducted and see more of YOS 092. Item number: YOS 6728. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: YOS 6728-1. Due to its growing nature, the containment of YOS 6728 is quite difficult at this time. Site 206728 is to remain within 15 miles from YOS 6728-1, surrounded by indestructible walls and fences. Instances of YOS 6728-2 are only to be collected when testing or experimenting with. When personnel decide to enter YOS 6728, they must provide YOS 6728-3 with YOS 6728-2 instances in order to prevent a death, except for D-Class personnel. If YOS 6728-1 reaches the proximity of Site 20, the site will be in lockdown and make sure YOS 6728-1 doesn't tear through the material. Description: YOS 6728 consists of 3 separate components of unknown origin. YOS 6728-1 is a 2,500-acre rainforest located somewhere in. It is mostly wet when entering, and the branches are slightly decayed. YOS 6728-1 has a path that seems to lead the entirety of the forest, and will lead them in different ways. The forest is completely devoid of any wildlife, and doesn't seem to have consumable items within the forest. YOS 6728-2 are missing body parts that resemble that of a human being. They can be found within YOS 6728-1, but most of them are spreading out to different places in the forest. They pose no immediate threat when contact is made, and show signs of immobility. Most of them can be found above ground, and are mostly found on trees. YOS 6728-3 are vaguely shaped humanoid figures that are made up of human body parts, presumably YOS 6728-2 instances. They show signs of sentience and seem to be aware of its surroundings despite it having no visible eyes. Instances of YOS 6728-3 spend most of the day roaming around the deeper part of YOS 6728-1. And will occasionally collect instances of YOS 6728-2 and place them on themselves in order to better shape their appearance. When the entity doesn't sense any body parts anywhere, they will proceed to a specific place where the parts are found. YOS 6728-3, on rare occasions, can become hostile, if a human subject is visible, and only acts this way when an instance of YOS 6728-2 is not near it. It will use its collective body parts to tear the victim's limbs off, and will kill the subject with a stomp of extreme force. It will then dispose of the body by enveloping the victim's traces and no trace will be found in the forest, and then acquire the torn parts of the victim. YOS 6728-1 has been observed expanding at a very high rate of speed at meters per second, and will occasionally destroy any structure within its growing range, which makes containment difficult. YOS 6728-3 has been observed not attacking any invertebrate animals, as it only needed human life to sustain themselves. Addendum 6728-1. YOS 6728 was discovered when a decrease in animal population was noticed. They tried to find the cause of the disappearance, until they found a spreading mass of forest material. It is impossible to stop, so they must stay away from it for now. Addendum 6728-2. After its discovery, multiple groups of individuals went missing, and flyers of missing people were spread near the forest, and the Foundation tried to deter nearby people from entering. Addendum 6728-3. D-777 went inside the forest to check on some unusual activity within. An audio log was recovered after the log ended.
Okay, I'm going to find something interesting here. What is this? It's a literal person's arm.
Maybe put that thing down and keep looking.
I agree. I feel like it's going to be dark if I keep going.
You are permitted to pull out your supplies. D-777.
What do you want?
Do you hear a click?
I didn't hear anything.
Well, still, be cautious and look for anything unusual when you wake up.
Whatever you say.
The next day, the doctor noticed that D777 was missing, with the exception of traces of blood. He heard the audio after he disconnected his audio. He was yelling about some creature full of arms, and was assumed to be terminated. Addendum 6728-4. A YOS 6728-2 instance was taken for examination. It seemed to not show any further anomalous properties, and the only differences being originally owned by a YOS 6728-3 instance. Addendum 6728-5. Side 206728 needs to be protected by YOS 6728-1's growth, so they took weeks to build up a bulletproof fence and steel wall to hopefully prevent it from tearing through.
Note: I don't know how, but we need to find a way to prevent this forest from spreading any further, and we are currently working on it.
Dr. Derick. Item number: YOS 1362. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: the entire mass of YOS 1362 should be blocked from a 73-meter stone wall with the top stretching within its perimeter about 23 meters to prevent it from spreading further. This wall must not be damaged or removed by any circumstances, and signs of damage must be immediately repaired. Instances of YOS 1362A and B that attempt to escape the infected area must be terminated, and the rest are not to be near the wall within 7 meters. Pieces of YOS 1362 are to be removed and taken to Site 16 with permission, and instances of YOS 1362A and B must be retrieved with caution, and must be incapacitated before taking them to the facility. Description: YOS 1362 appears as a large field that is entirely covered with grass. Its measurement is unknown as it seems to stretch on infinitely. It is accompanied by trees but very distant within the area as if it rarely grows trees. The field is constantly increasing in size by spreading throughout the different types of land. It is later noticed that it grows over lakes, rivers, and even large hills and mountains. Its speed seems to reach 1 mile per hour. It seems to be responsible for the disappearances of hundreds of people, and seems to carry humanoid-like entities within itself. YOS 1362A are entities that resemble a human skull, but noticeably disfigured and are covered by mold growths and a little bit of grass, and are also missing its lower jaw. They are immobile in nature, and are considered sentient, but they are capable of transporting. They are capable of infecting nearby human beings and can form mold growths and grass onto the human, eventually eating up the rest of the body and only leaving the skull, although missing the lower jaw. YOS 1362 can only infect humans within a 1-mile radius. YOS 1362B are humanoid-shaped creatures that are entirely covered with grass. They stand at 1.5 meters, and can move around the area at will. It seems to rest at a certain amount of time, can be seen resting during noon and midnight. They are capable of experiencing emotions, and are often seen distressed at its condition, presumed. However, they show signs of aggression and will attack any human on sight, and they will infect them until they resemble another specimen of the entity. Both YOS 1362A and YOS 1362B entities try to leave the area to spread the mass of YOS 1362 at will, but they will have a hard time doing so due to the increasing spread of the area itself. DNA testing of both YOS 1362A and B were identified as the missing person, and they seem to be mindless now due to the infection. YOS 1362 is incapable of spreading over a ceiling, and can only spread through about 18 meters. Containment is successful. Pieces of YOS 1362 can be easily removed. Upon being removed, they are now incapable of spreading, and pieces are being used for testing purposes. Addendum 1362-1. YOS 1362 brought the Foundation's attention due to multiple people going missing. They go investigating for the item, until they came across a sidewalk that is covered in grass. It seems to spread non-stop, so they quickly set up a wall that prevents the item from spreading further. Addendum 1362-2. Foundation personnel came to notice that multiple entities are within the item space. They retrieved some by tranquilizing them, but were soon terminated due to their behavior. Addendum 1362-3. D-Class personnel are being sent to YOS 1362. They were reported missing and the inclusion of more personnel is not to be attempted. It is assumed they got infected by the item later on. Addendum 1362-4. YOS 1362 pieces were removed for examination, and DNA proved it to be a completely different type of grass unidentified, and it seemed to cease all of its properties. Foundation has yet to decide to keep removing parts of the item to prevent it from spreading anywhere else.
Note: proceed at your own risk while reading YOS 2678's file, as it might raise your curiosity.
Item number: YOS 2678. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: at any time YOS 2678 appears when a full moon phase occurs, witnesses must be given Class G amnestics to prevent them from experiencing any activity from it. If witnesses experienced anomalous activity coming from it must be questioned, and given Class G amnestics afterwards. Personnel from Site 05 must not come into contact with YOS 2678 during its full moon phase, and must be given amnestics if witnessed. Description: YOS 2678 is a recurring phenomenon that only manifests when a full moon is present during the night. Subjects who directly observe the full moon for more than 3 minutes will experience a random effect on their own vision. They claim to see the moon as a beautiful woman, while still having its spherical shape, and they seem to take pleasure in it. They call the moon, Luna, due to them hearing the moon explaining that to them. They also claim to see that Luna seems to be attracted to the subject, and often reminds them to come up to her directly. The subject will often try to go up and kiss the moon's surface still believing it's alive. This could lead to their death due to lacking a spacesuit. Multiple witnesses were sent to Site 05 for questioning, and Class G amnestics seemed to be effective against the effects from the item. Only males will be affected by YOS 2678, and females will not experience the effect. This also applies to animals. Due to the moon's continuous rotation around Earth, containment is not to be attempted and must be considered successful, and personnel are to warn witnesses from viewing it. Addendum 2678-1. YOS 2678 was discovered when multiple male citizens were missing. This was later confirmed that they went to the moon and were later dead due to the lack of a spacesuit. Researcher Gilbert was affected and was quarantined and later given amnestics. Addendum 2678-2. 3 interviews were planned with 3 male civilians. Interviewer: Dr. Simon. Interviewee: Subject 01. Begin log.
So, can you explain what you saw?
I saw the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life.
Are you talking about the moon?
No, it was Luna.
Is that what you called it? Luna?
Yes. Man, she has those beautiful red lips, those perfect eyelashes, those beautiful eyes, and my most favorite is her eyelids.
Well, that's all I need to hear from that. Can you describe this Luna person?
She was super attractive and super sweet. She wants to be with me for the rest of my life. You don't understand me. I want to give her a kiss.
I don't think you should do that. You might die up there if you do.
Well, you don't understand true love, Doc.
Subject 01 faces away for a few seconds.
Maybe one day you'll understand.
Okay, Subject 01, you can return to your cell now.
It's your choice, get the kiss or be the bitch.
End log. Closing statement. Subject 01 went back to his cell, and was given Class G amnestics soon afterwards. Interviewer: Dr. Simon. Interviewee: Subject 02. Begin log.
Do you have anything to say about YOS 2678?
What kind of name is that? Her name is Luna, remember?
I do, I'm just referring to her as someone else just like the other items here.
Well, that's disrespectful, but I'll let that slide this time. Anyway, she is very beautiful. Every time I see her, my cheeks glow red. I cannot get enough of it.
Do you think you take love too seriously?
What? The hell are you talking about, boy? That'll never happen ever.
Just saying.
I am very responsible for women, and I never take that stupid thing seriously at all. I'm just doing what's right.
Okay, I think that's all from you. So, what do you think about Subject 01's opinion?
Oh, he's kind of taking this girl a little too seriously, but he sometimes never attempts to go directly to her, you know. Not to mention, the other guy was really into her, like too much, obsessive about her. I think he needs to calm down for a little bit.
Well, I will speak with him for a minute. Thanks for discussing with me. You may return to your cell.
Okay, but next time you disrespect my girl, you're getting a taste of your own medicine.
End log. Closing statement. Subject 02 returns to his cell, and was given Class G amnestics soon after. Interviewer. Dr. Simon. Interviewee. Subject 03. Begin log.
So Subject 03, how do you feel?
I feel like I'm in love.
Please calm yourself down a little and explain what you saw.
Ooh, I creamed myself a little. Oh yeah, she was very bangable, like very. I cannot keep my eyes off her.
Okay then, what about her?
She wanted me to clap her cheeks, and kiss it, and smell it, and—
Whoa whoa whoa, we don't want that explanation in this meeting. Please chill for a second.
Sorry, it's just that. There is nothing overly disgusting about her. She's just perfect.
Well, just calm your mind for a while. She cannot be that pretty.
You might be right.
Suddenly, Subject 03 stops, apparently trying to hear something.
Ooh, she wants me? She wants me now. She kissed me in my mind. Ooh, I need to go right now.
Wait, the meeting still isn't. Well, he's gonna die up there, so that shouldn't matter to us. This meeting's over.
End log. Closing statement. After Subject 03 abruptly left the interview, it is assumed he went up to the moon and eventually died due to the lack of a suit. Addendum 2678-3. A signal was tracked to a male who saw YOS 2678. The man was missing in his house, and only left a book that is filled with his days experiencing the effects of the item. Here are the days written in.
Day 1. One night, I saw a full moon. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my whole life, the bright full moon distant from our home, with a calming white light. At some point I laid down to see it a bit more while outside. There were no clouds trying to block it, so why don't I try it then? But, what I've seen during 3 minutes was a beautiful woman. I couldn't tell because of the light, but it was a woman far from the sky. She seems confident to see me, but I digress. Despite her beauty, I am not into girls that much, and I've decided to think that I might have suffered from sleep deprivation and I need some sleep. So I did. Hopefully this goes away soon. Day 2. Another night, I've decided to write what I saw, but it still might have been a hallucination I've seen, but still, I need my friends to believe me. But all of a sudden, I heard the girl talking to me. I might be losing my mind again, so I decided to go to one of my friends' houses. Olivia allowed me to come in, and I told her that I heard the girl who looks like the moon started talking to me. At first she didn't believe me, but I insisted that it's true, and she decided to believe me anyway. Then I told her if I can stay the night. She agreed, but she needs to tell her parents first. They came and they allowed me to stay with her. I've decided to play games with Olivia for a little until we go to bed. I hope this thing will wash off from my mind soon. Day 3. Woke up the next day. I decided to leave Olivia's house and decided to pick up some groceries. I've acquired a Doritos bag, a white bread, a row of vegetables, and some peanut butter and jelly admire. I've eaten my favorite breakfast, PB&J sandwich, and saved the Doritos for a snack. I don't know what to do with the vegetables though. I watched movies and decided to write about what I experienced last night this time. During sunset, I ate my Doritos and watched a couple of movies, and I was just about to watch the next Avengers movie, until I heard the girl's voice again. I don't know why, but her voice sounds heavenly, like angelic. I've gotten a sudden urge to love her, and admire her beauty. I would praise Jesus for letting me see her looks, and I would love her forever and ever and ever. Day 4. It's been 4 days now, and she still begs me to be with her, but I can't. I've gotten into a lovely relationship with Olivia, and I don't think I want her to be my girlfriend anytime soon. Since she's 19 years old, while I'm 21 years old. But still, I like her, even with a passion from my heart, and I will think about being her boyfriend forever, but for now, I only see her as beautiful. Day 5. 5 days, and still she's begging me to be her boyfriend or husband or whatever girls want these days. I've tried and tried and tried to ignore her pleas, but all I think about is her. I dismissed Olivia's calls and texts. Her kissing is soothing, so wholesome, so willingly. And I want to marry her. I want to kiss that big beautiful smile of hers, and I want it now. I need her lips onto mine, and I need it for myself. Screw my family, screw my dog, screw my grandparents, screw my decisions, and most importantly, screw Olivia. I need that piece of fashion, up to my lips right now, and I'll do it by any means necessary. Goodbye for nothing, everyone.
After these days, the man was assumed to have reached the moon by now, and probably didn't have a spacesuit to survive. He was presumed to have perished before anyone could stop him. The book was taken to Site 05 and people he knew very well are being informed about this event. Addendum 2678-4. A text message from Olivia was sent to the Site 05 staff, and the reply was sent back. It read,
"Hey guys, thanks for informing me and my family about. I was crying my eyes out when I heard this. I never thought he would be this insane, but at least he got what he wanted. I read his book and I just wanted to say that I did in fact loved him. He helped me out a lot during our time together, and our other friends as well, and it really did feel like we were getting close, like almost being boyfriend and girlfriend, but unfortunately, it did not go that way, and it probably never will. I hope he apologized for the behavior he had when going to the moon to kiss it or whatever, and I hope he did. So once again, thanks for the information guys. I hope he will live great in a better place, and hope he stays in his previous behavior, and hope he says to me up there that he will always love me, no matter what happens next. I hope y'all stay safe. Good luck on saving the world."
After she sent the message, the staff replied with, "Thank you, ma'am. We hope you live a good life, and remember to stay safe and remain healthy for the sake of survival." The investigation for the man concludes here. Addendum 2678-5. More investigations related to this story are ongoing. Item number YOS 696. Object Class Keter. Containment Procedures. YOS 696 is to be kept within a bulletproof steel container at all times, and it must be connected to a hard surface to prevent any damages from occurring. Once a week, YOS 696 is to be required a small object to infect with. Objects that are infected with it should not reach the 30 object limit. Interaction with YOS 696 must not be attempted, except for testing purposes. Description: YOS 696 is an entity that seems to be completely enveloped by a crimson-red color, and it often breaks off from it at times. It uses this to make its anomalous properties stable, and has the ability to levitate, summon lightning, and completely envelop victims in a crimson red, eventually resulting in their death. Subjects report that they felt corrosion while being covered, and the pain was excruciating. Addendum 696-1. YOS 696 was discovered when a person covered in a crimson red, MTF Unit 88 was sent and the entity was incapacitated. It was taken to Site 13,